starting in Konoha, I got the Rinnegan by signing in. Hey! Look who's back for more adventures. We love having you here to continue this story that keeps us all awake. Important note, all of this is pure fiction, so don't try any techniques you hear here in real life. Your neighbor might call the cops. This amazing novel and all its rights belong to the original author. We're just the ones giving it voice and drama. Are you enjoying the show? Prove it by subscribing to our YouTube channel and leaving that like that motivates us so much. And if you want VIP access to exclusive content, our Patreon is waiting with things you won't find anywhere else. Chapter 151. Is Yun Yin abducting the prince concubine this time? Is it a premeditated or temporary intention? Liu Ren couldn't help thinking like this in his heart after all. Thinking about this matter, it actually revealed a kind of weirdness if Yun really intends to truce with Konoha, and sincerely comes to sign a peace treaty, then he will not casually attack the Konoha clan ninja after all. Ninjas are a kind of militarized management team. They obey orders. If the mission received an order for peace talks, it would be peace talks, and it will not cause trouble at this critical juncture and cause the mission to fail. The ninja mission is not a playhouse, so is Yun's negotiation just a cover. The real purpose is actually to take Hinata Hyuga. Liu Ren couldn't see why Hinata was so important to Yun. Taking a step back, even if the other party really has a reason to do this, it is not enough to send these Yun ninjas in front of you. This is Konoha base camp. What's more, if the other party is really for this purpose, then it should not hesitate to complete the task at all costs, and it will not stop after Konoha is dead. For a day. In short, this matter does reveal a strange thing. After thinking about it for a while, Liu Bian's mind moved into the fairy mode. And its huge and incomparable perception suddenly covered the entire Konoha. All Yunnan ninjas were found out in an instant. The Yunnan ninjas in Konoha village are indeed the only representatives of these 7 missions, and there are no other hidden Yunnan ninjas in these 7 Yunnan ninjas, 3 upper ninjas, 4 middle ninjas. This battle can be said to be a scum. If you want to engage in any small action in Konoha, that is looking for death. With that said, Yun shuddered. The princess concubine was temporarily upset, but soon Liu Bian shook his head. He felt that this was also unreasonable. As previously thought, Yunnan ninja came with orders. How could he mess things up? Continuing to expand the scope of perception, it has been covered to the outside of Konoha village. Liu Ren also did not find any Yunnan ninja ambushing outside. Judging from all this, it seems that the other party is sincere in signing a peace treaty. Forget it. What's the matter with love? Anyway, the crown prince won't have an accident. Hyuga's bad luck, fortune telling him is not good. Liu Ren shrugged, couldn't help but think so. Huh? No, but just as Liu Bian was about to put away the fairy mode, he actually sensed 2 extremely special chakras arrived outside Konoha village. Why is it special? Because he can clearly perceive through the fluctuating outline of chakra that one of them is a child. That talent is only as high as his waist, and even if he can't see the true appearance of the other person, he can be judged to be a child after all. There is no dwarf in Hokage. Not only that, but the chakra possessed by that child is also very rare, possessing the 5 attributes of water, fire, earth, wind, and thunder at the same time. This is very against the sky 5 attributes full of chakras. The entire ninja world is very rare, and beside this child, there is another ninja who has the same 5 attributes of chakra like this child. Through the perception of the amount of chakra, it's also very scary. Obviously, these 2 people, one big and one small, must be in the same group. When was there such a ninja in the ninja world? And at this time, why did they come to Konoha? Liu Ren felt that this matter was a bit unusual, considering that at this sensitive and critical moment, Ryan still has a good reason to doubt whether Hyuga Hinata's affairs are related to these 2 people. But after all, these things had nothing to do with Liu Bian. He just thought about it gossip, so he didn't pay much attention to it. Let's go. Continue patrolling. Liu Ren greeted his companions around him, and continued to start his war casually. What Ryubana didn't know was that when he withdrew his perception of the fairy mode, the ninja outside of Konoha village was slightly frowned. Father, what's the matter? The child around him looked up, looked at the old man beside him and asked. I just seem to feel a sense of being spied on, the old man said with a slight frown. It is worth noting that the eyes of the old man and the child are both a pair of white eyes. Have you been discovered? The child was a little surprised. This kind of thing seemed incredible to him. It shouldn't. Maybe it's my illusion. The old man thought for a while and shook his head. He has just arrived, and no one has entered outside the village of Konoha. How could he be discovered? How could Konoha have such a powerful strength? But Konoha's guard today seems to be a bit tight. The old man rolled his eyes and saw Konoha's situation in full view. he said very unexpectedly. Then shall we go to Hyuga's house? Of course. Sharon, Chapter 109 Atsuki's Plan, reaching Konoha's claws. Undoubtedly, the two uninvited guests who arrived outside the village of Konoha are from the Atsuki family on the moon. Atsuki Shinichi and Atsuki Sharon. Father and son Shinichi Atsuki noticed him since Hinata was born. Now that more than 2 years have passed, he really, like he decided 2 years ago, personally inspected it. As for the Dadanmush people. Chapter 152. I heard that my father wanted to go to the lower realm and was going to personally test whether a woman was qualified to be his wife in the future, so I wanted to come down with him. When the Dadanmush people were very young, cruel wars broke out in the clan. In order to defeat the clan, the division of the family sacrificed almost all of the clan's eyes and condensed into a huge reincarnation eye to win the victory. The eyes of the people from Dadanmush were also gouged out at that time. Now the white eyes in the pupils of Atsuki Sharon are not real white eyes, but a pair of false eyes that Atsuki Shinichi used the power of the giant reincarnation eye to condense. It will be able to use a few days of effort. Father, when shall we go? Dadanmush people asked his father excitedly and expectantly. He was actually very interested in the wife his father chose for him. Don't worry, it seems that something happened to Konoha today. It will not be too late until I find out the details first. Shinichi Atsuki touched Atsuki Sharon's little head and said if it were before, Shinichi Atsuki would not have been so careful. They would have looked down upon the ninjas on Earth at all, but since the outgoing golem was inexplicably stolen by others, the Datongmu clan on the moon began to treat the ninjas on the Earth no longer so contemptuously. After all, the outer golem has been missing for so many years, and they have been using the giant reincarnation eye to look for in the ninja world, but they still couldn't find any clues. Especially now, there are only 3 people left in the once prosperous Datongmu clan. And Datongmu has become more cautious. Oh, the person from Dadanmush nodded without saying much. Shinichi Atsuki started to use his eyes to carefully examine the situation in Konoha village when he found that it was almost 5 steps, 1 post and 10 steps, 1 sentry. His brows wrinkled slightly. With Konoha's current level of rigorous defense, it is undoubtedly difficult for him to sneak into the Hyuga clan land silently. Seeing his father's contemplative appearance, Dadanmush also seemed to have noticed something. Father, is there something wrong? No problem, Shinotsuki smiled. Although it's a little troublesome, it's okay. However, it may be later. Shinichi Atsuki began to quietly observe the situation in Konoha village. Of course, none of this was noticed by the ninjas in Ryubana or other Konoha village. Everything in the village continues as usual. Sarutobi Resin first arranged for the U9 mission to visit Konoha. In short, after doing some superficial effort, he arranged a residence for the U9 mission. As soon as various insignificant processes are gone, half a day has passed. The next half day is the rest time for the U9 mission, and the formal negotiations will not officially start until the next day. Before the formal negotiations began, the U9 mission's work in Konoha and the details of the U9 mission were all clearly understood by the ninjas of the ANB. Master Naruto, it has been found out that this time the U9 mission has no hidden power besides the 7 ninjas on the surface. Kakashi reports to Sarutobi Hizuki in the Naruto office. Call. After hearing this, Sarutobi spit out a smoke ring and let out a long sigh of relief. It seems that U9 really wanted to negotiate peace with Konoha this time. I see. You can go down first. Sarutobi Hattori waved his hand and sent Kakashi away. It's been so long. This war can finally be over, and I can sleep well. Sarutobi slapped the ashes in the pipe and muttered to himself. But what Sarutobi would never think of was that under the seemingly smooth and calm surface, there was an invisible dark wave surging. This dark wave came from 2 uninvited guests who had secretly sneaked into Konoha. Datunmue. It turned out to be the U9 mission. Did you come to sign a peace treaty with Konoha? Not bad. Hidden in the dark, Shinichi Atsuki couldn't help showing a meaningful smile on his face. Father, the U9 mission came to Konoha for peace talks. Konoha's guards must be tighter than usual. Why is this not bad? Dadanmush asked with some incomprehension. After all, he is still a child, and there are some things that he can't understand, because Konoha has a group of people with great authority. Shinichi Atsuki smiled and said to the people of Atsukusha, this makes it more convenient for us to act. After all, the Hyuga clan is one of Konoha's top clan, and it is not easy for Shinichi Atsuki to sneak into the clan of such a clan silently. But if the subject was replaced by a U9 ninja, it would be much easier. After all, the U9 mission was an important guest in Konoha. In the reception area that Konoha arranged for the U9 mission, there were no other people except the 7 U9 ninjas. It was a godsend. Unlike the Hyuga clan, There must be sentries on patrol at all times. If you attack U9 ninja, the degree of difficulty will be reduced by more than 1 or 2 points even during this period. If the envoy of U9 couldn't bear to be lonely and wandered around in the village of Konoha, it would be even more tantamount to being delivered directly to the door. As long as Shinichi Atsuki used their puppet control techniques unique to the Atsuki clan to control some cloud-hidden messengers, it would be much easier to sneak into the Hyuga clan. He only needs to visit the Hyuga clan formally in the name of the mission. In this way, you can enter the family land of the Hyuga clan grandiosely. The next thing will become a matter of course. That's why Shinichi Atsuki was so satisfied. Then next, let's start. Shinichi Atsuki opened his eyes again, and the Konoha patrols around the mission reception area appeared in his field of vision. The distribution of the U9 missions in the reception area was also clearly greeted by the eyes. Shinichi Atsuki found a blind spot for patrolling very easily, and with the people of Atsukisha, he easily sneaked into the reception area of the mission. At this time, all the U9 ninjas in the reception hall returned to their rooms. Here, Sharon, Shinichi Atsuki appeared outside one of the rooms with Atsuki. Sharon, dang dang. Shinichi Atsuki knocked on the door lightly outside, politely, and after a while, the door opened. Chapter 153. Rinko, the leader of the U9 mission, looked at Shinichi Atsuki a little strangely. Ninja of the Hyuga family? What do you do? Yes, Rinko directly regarded Atsuki Shinichi as the Hyuga clan. After all, this is Konoha, and the other party has rolled eyes. There is really no doubt about this. What's more, the other party also brought a child, which didn't arouse Rinchuan's suspicion. After all, who tried to commit a crime and brought a child by his side? Shinichi Atsuki didn't have any nonsense, and a ball of light appeared when he turned his hand, and then quickly pressed the ball of light into Rinko's body. The two were originally face to face, and Rinchuan had no precautions, so they were instantly recruited. After the ball of light entered the body, Rinko suddenly became Shinichi Atsuki's puppet. Zhi, Shinichi Atsuki clapped his hands, and then walked directly into Rinchuan's room with Atsuki. Sharon and Atsuki Shinichi controlled Rinko's body and called another ninja from the mission, and also controlled it as for more ninjas. Sorry, Shinichi Atsuki is no match for the talent of Atsuki Sharon. A living person can only control 2 at most, but 2 are enough. After doing all this, Atsuki Shinichi controlled the leading ninja Rinko and summoned all the U9 ninjas. Everyone, get ready. We are going to visit some of Konoha's big families now. Rinchuan suddenly announced to everyone. One of the U9 ninjas was very strange. Master Rinko, isn't our mission this time about peaceful negotiations with Konoha? The mission is indeed the case, but it is normal for us to conduct exchanges and visits to Konoha during the peace talks, right? Rinko glanced at the questioning ninja and said without waiting for the other party to answer, he said again, while visiting, try to collect more information about the Konoha clan for the village. Understand? The other ninjas were slightly startled, and then stopped talking nonsense, and all responded, understood. It is true that this task is indeed a peace negotiation. But on the basis of not undermining this task, why not do more things that are beneficial to the village? Rinko formally made this request to Konoha in the name of the mission. Yun wants to visit some of Konoha's families. When Sarutobi Hizen heard the news, Wei was surprised, but then he smiled dumbly. Could Yun want to take the opportunity to inquire about the information of the Konoha clan? Really meaningless behavior. He almost didn't hesitate at all, so he agreed directly. The other party must be a negotiating mission, and the request made was not excessive, and there was no reason to refuse. What's more, the Konoha clan is not a fool, and it is impossible to be spied on by the U9 mission. At this point, the Sarutobi son still has the least confidence. That's it, Sarutobi Risen said very boldly and honestly. Everything is in Atsuki Shinichi's plan. Okay, now, we can take a closer look at whether Hyuga Hinata is worthy of your wife. Shinichi Atsuki said with a hint of expectation. Ren and Datong Mashurin sat in Rinchuan's room, remotely controlled Rinchuan, and led the mission towards the Hyuga clan. Here I have to mention how great the puppet art of the Datongmu clan is, and they can even share their vision with the puppet body. It's like Nagato controls 6-pen. Shinichi Atsuki was able to see through Rinko's eyes, and even shared control with the people of Atsukisha. The father and son saw what Rinko saw together. In this way, the two of them sat behind, and the entire U9 mission became their string puppets. The U9 mission? What are they doing? Liu Jian, who was patrolling the village, saw the U9 mission walking towards the Hyuga clan, and Wei felt a little strange, but he didn't mean to ask questions. and then he left the idea behind him and continued his patrol. The U9 missions quickly arrived at the Hyuga clan. Hyuga received a notice from the village early enough that it was the U9 mission who wanted to visit their family and asked them to do a good job of receiving them. The patriarch of the Hyuga Nizu family personally led the Hyuga Nissa and other high-level elders to grandly receive the U9 mission after the two sides went through some irrelevant nonsense. Rin Chuan suddenly proposed that they had long admired the reputation of the Hyuga clan, so they wanted to discuss with the Hyuga clan, and very persistent. What else can the Hyuga clan do? Now the U9 mission was the father, and couldn't defend him, so he reluctantly agreed and arranged some people to discuss with the U9 mission. However, the attitude of the U9 mission was very arrogant, especially one of them repeatedly made ruthless words, which angered the Hyuga tribe who was fighting with him. The Hyuga clan member missed and injured the opponent. Quickly take Mr. Kuroki to the hospital. Hyuga Nizu hurriedly arranged for someone to send each other to the hospital, but what Hyuga Hisus would not have imagined was that after Kuroki came out of the hall, when he passed an empty corner, he shot and knocked out the Hyuga ninja who was escorting him, then rushed straight to Hineda's room. The exact location of Hyuga Hineda, Atsuki Shin had checked with a white eye early in the morning, so he took control of Kuroki effortlessly this time, snipped into Hineda's room, and began to personally check Hineda from close range. It's amazing. There's nothing wrong with his purity. Sharon, this is your future wife. Shinichi Atsuki has already made a decision. Since this is the case, then simply just take Hineda back to the moon. After thinking about it for a while, Atsuki Jin made such a decision, so he picked up Hyuga Hineda and quickly began to evacuate. Chapter 154. Under the control of Atsuki Shinichi, Kuroki's speed was still very fast, and he was out of the Hyuga clan in the blink of an eye. But just after turning a corner, a figure came into Shinichi Atsuki's eyes. Konoha guards. As the Atsuki clan who has been paying attention to the ninja world for a long time, Shinichi Atsuki naturally knows what the Konoha guard does, and that is the Konoha police to maintain law and order. So when Atsuki Shinichi saw the Konoha guard, he didn't hesitate to take action without any hesitation. Chapter 110. It's time to let the sign-in business break out of the earth. Crackling, the sound of thunder and lightning blasted, and Kuroki flipped his hand and found out a handful of Kiryu, which was shining with thunder and lightning, including Kuroki himself. There was also a tiny electric arc from time to time. At this moment, Kuroki not only injected Lei Dun chakra into the ninja in his hand, but also used Lei Dun chakra to stimulate his own cells. The speed is almost extreme. At the same time, the power of Kyune in his hands is also extremely powerful. Using Thunder Dun to stimulate cells to greatly increase their strength is a unique method of United ninjas. If ordinary Konoha guard members encounter it, it may not be able to stop it. It's just a pity that Kuroki encountered the most perverted guy in the guard at that moment. Ryubana thought about it, and instantly entered the fairy mode, and disappeared as soon as he shook his body. Its speed is much faster than the black wood that stimulated its own cells with Lei Dun chakra. Not good. Shinichi Atsuki was taken aback. He didn't expect that someone who would meet a guard casually would be so powerful that he suddenly felt an unpleasant feeling in his heart. Immediately after Atsuki Shinichi, he felt an extremely dangerous sensation. Before people could react, the sound of flesh and blood being cut by a sharp blade rang. Pouch. Kuroki's neck was directly cut open by Kyune in Ryubana's hands. At this moment, in the face of such immense pain and the critical moment of death, the original consciousness of Kuroki, who was forcibly suppressed by Shinichi Atsuki, finally recovered. Drink. This vague sound came from Kuromu's mouth, and the whole person began to fall into an extremely abnormal distortion. It was Kuroki's consciousness competing with Atsuki Shinichi for control of the body. The potential exploded when a person dies is unlimited. Kuroki, who had been completely controlled by Shinichi Atsuki, suddenly regained the dominance of his body with a tremendous willpower that burst out in a moment. The ball of light was forced out of Kuroki's body abruptly. No, I lost the control of a puppet. Shinichi Atsuki, who was strategizing in the reception hall of the U9 mission, suddenly changed his expression, and then suddenly went dark in front of him, and Kuroki's vision disappeared. Kuromu had returned to normal at this time, but it was too late. He clutched his throat and made a babbling noise in his mouth unconsciously. Then he plopped and fell to the ground, completely turning into a corpse. Ryubana stood on the spot, looking at Blackwood's corpse, and fell into deep thought. Just before he died, the U9 envoy reacted very strangely, especially the eyes and reaction at the end were full of shock, anger, unwillingness and other emotions. The front and back are almost like two people, and the ball of light that floated from the U9 messenger. Ryubana also felt very familiar, and he could be sure that he had seen it in Hokage's related works. It's a spirit ball. The spirit ball used by the people of Dadanmush to control Hinata. Soon Ryuban recalled what the ball light was, and while being surprised and unexpected, he also felt extremely excited. Could it be that the Dadanmush people came to the earth? Doesn't this mean that one's own sign in business can break out of the earth and expand to the moon? Well, not bad. The giant reincarnation eye on the moon, but a super big eye of the same level as the reincarnation eye. Ryuban couldn't help feeling excited when he thought of this. Whoosh, a figure flashed past, and appeared in front of Ryuban like lightning. But it was the Hyuga Sunzuo, who discovered his daughter was taken captive in time and chased him for the first time. Hyuga Hizu glanced at the scene, and when he found the corpse of a member of the Konoha guard in Kuroki, he knew what had happened without anyone explaining. The Yunai ninja named Kuroki was spotted by the Konoha guards when he was escaping, and he fought with him, and was shot dead by him. Hinata, Hyuga Hinata quickly rushed over and hugged Hinata. After checking it, it was found that he had not suffered any harm. This was a long sigh of relief. You saved my daughter, Hyuga Nezu said to Ryuzen with gratitude. Ryuzen waved his hand casually. As a member of the Konoha guard, this is my duty. You are welcome, Mr. Nezu. At the same time, Liu Ren also used the fairy mode for the first time to perceive the entire Konoha village. It's them. It turns out that the two of them are actually the Big Barrel Wood clan on the moon. Atsuki Shinichi, father and son, were sensed by Liu Ren in an instant. Liu Ren felt a little surprised at first, and then suddenly realized no wonder these two would sneak around outside of Konoha in the morning, because they really planned to do things in Konoha. Chapter 155. The goal is Hinata Hyuga. It's just that Ryuban didn't expect that the other party would control the Yunai mission to operate this matter. However, in this way, all the doubts about the princess being taken abducted were a perfect explanation. No wonder the Yunai mission would come up with such an illogical moth. When it seems to be sincere in signing a treaty with Konoha, it turned out to be controlled by the Datongmu clan. Sir, goodbye. Then Ryuzen hurriedly greeted Hyuga Hizu, and left the Hyuga clan by using instantaneous technique. It seemed that the killing of a member of the Yunai mission was just a trivial matter. After leaving the Hyuga clan, Liu Ren split out a shadow clone as a cover for the first time, and its body used the power of God to return to his room. For the first time he took out a glass ball and quickly used the telescope technique to spy on the two people he felt at the reception of the mission. Two pairs of white eyes appeared in the picture on the glass ball. Sure enough, it is from Dadanmush. Although the Dadanmush people are still a child, they can still be seen from the general outline and have a high degree of similarity with the adult Dadanmush people. No, the feeling of being spied on, here comes again. At the embassy reception, Shinichi Atsuki was slightly surprised and frowned. It seems that his previous feeling was not an illusion. Indeed, someone in Konoha had discovered his existence long ago. In addition, the plan to take Hinata abducted had failed, and Shin Atsuki made a decisive decision. Sharon, we will leave here immediately, Atsuki Shinichi resolutely said to Atsukashi. Konoha is much stronger than he thought. Shinichi Atsuki decisively took the people of Atsukashi to evacuate. Want to go? Since I'm here, why don't you leave me? Ashamed to let you go. Liu Ren in the clan area smiled slightly, and continued to stare at Shinichi Atsuki with the technique of telescopes. Here, Shinichi Atsuki and two of them evacuated, immediately letting go of their control over another member of the Yunai mission. Rinchuan. The memories of the previous period of control flooded, and Rinchuan was shocked in a cold sweat. I was controlled by someone. I turned out to be a tool for others. What about the other black wood that is controlled? Soon he found that the entire Hyuga clan had become chaotic, and people around him quickly reported to him that it was Kuroki who had taken the princess of the Hyuga family abducted and had now been shot dead. Listen, this has never happened before, and Kuroki has never done this before. Do you understand? Rinko said solemnly to the ninjas around him. Everyone nodded sternly. When Rinchuan saw this, he nodded, launched the instantaneous technique and rushed out, appearing at the entrance of Futi, in front of Kuroki's corpse. Patriarch Hyuga, what's the matter? You killed Kuroki? Even if Kuroki's attitude was a bit arrogant during the competition before, you can't do it. Rinko was filled with righteous indignation and righteously shouted at Hyuga Hizu, and first buckled a big hat directly. Rinko-kun, you are misunderstood. Kuroki-kun was not killed by my Hyuga clan. He was the one who made a plot to forcibly take my daughter Hyuga Hinata, and attack the Konoha guard, and was killed by the Konoha guard. Hyuga Hizu said to Rinko with a serious face. Then the two parties started to wrestle with each other, and soon, the incident shocked the third generation of Sarutobi, and made trouble in the Hokage office. During this period, Atsuki Shinichi and his son had already left the village of Konoha and came to the aircraft that had long been hidden in a hidden corner. That aircraft is roughly the same as the one carried by the Datogmashirin in the theater version, with only a few subtle differences. Father, did we go back like this? Dadanmush asked unwillingly. Even if he is still young, he is still a little unacceptable. This made the self-esteem of the arrogant Dadanmush people feel a certain frustration. Sharon, I know that you are not happy. If it were before, I would not have been so cautious, but now, there are only 3 of us left in the Datogmu clan, and Zuanayu and I are already old. The most important task for the 2 of us now is to train you. Sharon, you are the purest clan member of our Datogmu clan. The mission of our clan will be borne by you in the future. Go back first. Hyuga Hinata is someone who is worthy of you. When you grow up, come pick her up in person, Atsuki Shinichi said in a deep voice to the Atsuki Sharon. The Atsuki nodded, and after Shinichi Atsuki, he was about to fly directly back to the moon in a spacecraft. It's hard to come here once, why are you leaving in such a hurry? But at this moment, a voice rang coldly. Who? Atsuki Shinichi was taken aback and turned his head abruptly, only to see a special vortex suddenly appearing in the direction of the sound. After the vortex dissipated, a very young person wearing the Konoha guard uniform appeared in front of them. Legend, after me, Atsuki Shin said in a deep voice to the Atsuki Sharon, and protected the Atsuki Sharon by his side. Then Shinichi Atsuki opened his eyes and carefully investigated the surroundings. Don't look at it, I'm the only one, there's no one else, Ryubana said to Shinichi Atsuki with ease. Shinichi Atsuki observed with white eyes that it was so, and he couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief, and he quickly understood what had come, and looked at Liu Ren with a sudden realization. The person who spied on me before is you, right? Liubian did not deny this, nodded, and smiled sarcastically. Looking for a wife to pay attention to your wishes, hard grab can be a bit of a price drop. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 156. Shinichi Atsuki's face changed. He didn't know anything about the person in front of him, but he didn't expect this person to have such a fine-grained information about them. While this made Atsuki Shinichi annoyed, he was also shocked. Who on earth are you? What are the plots against us like this? Shinichi Atsuki stared at Ryubana in a deep voice and asked, It's okay, I just want to be a guest at your home, I don't know if you like it or not. Liu Ren shrugged. It's just a pity that a low-level person like you is not worthy to set foot in my hometown. Shinichi Atsuki snorted coldly. At the same time he took out a scroll and stretched out his hand to pat on it. Boom boom boom, the blue smoke flashed, and several big barrel wooden puppets jumped out one after another, and surrounded Ryubana and Jutsu. And I don't know how much better the puppetry of the Datogmu clan is than the puppetry of the Red Sand Scorpion. Every puppet can be treated as a serious ninja. As the patriarch of the Hyuga clan, the strength of the handful of Konoha's top ranks, Hyuga Jutsu was severely injured by a few large wooden puppets. In the theater version, the puppetry of this clan can be seen after the puppets were released. All of them stretched out their palms and aimed their palms at Ryubana. Amidst the waves of energy fluctuations, each puppet's palms shone with light. Atsuki Mujin is also very confident with his puppets. At this time, he confidently said, This is your last chance to tell your identity and purpose. I've already said that, I want to be a guest at your home. Liu Ren still looked relaxed and composed. Shinichi Atsuki snorted coldly, toast and not eat or drink fine wine. Boom 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 boom, with a thought in his heart, all the puppets' palms were bright, and a pair of dazzling and blazing energy light condensed, and they hit Ryubana in a blink of an eye. Ryubana was surrounded by a circle of energy light balls. Magnetic escape placer gold. Ryubana was not in a hurry, and with a thought, the power of magnetic escape was used, and a circle of golden sand suddenly rose up around him. A protective layer was formed to block all the energy photoballs from attacking. It's not too easy. Atsuki Shinichi's complexion changed slightly, and the strength of the person in front of him was stronger than he had imagined. Chapter 111. Ryubana is angry, draws the flying monkey to fly, snapped. Ryubana slapped both palms at this time, and the tyrannical chakra in the fairy mode frantically rushed in his body under his control. The golden sand in front of him began to raging fiercely, rushing towards the surrounding puppets swiftly and overwhelmingly. Shinichi Atsuki's pupils shrank slightly. What a powerful dust ninjutsu! He hurriedly manipulated the puppets to quickly dodge. However, the sand that flows from the blade does not only come from one direction, but from all directions of each puppet soon, all the puppets were surrounded by dust, burst. Then Liu Ren suddenly made a fist boom 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 boom, all the big wooden puppets exploded in the first place. What? Atsuki Shinichi's pupils shrank again, and the strength of Uchiha in front of him was so powerful that he felt jealous. When did the ninja world have such a number one person? At this moment when Atsuki Shinichi was astonished, Ryubana had already controlled a large number of senseis, and slapped Atsuki Shinichi and Atsukusha. The sensei here is not an exaggeration. Under Ryuban's control, the amount of sand gold is so full that it really forms a golden stormy sea. Shinichi Atsuki felt his scalp numb. This level of ninjutsu, is there still anyone in the ninja world that can use it? Don't live, go back. Atsuki Jin let out an exclamation, and immediately took the Atsuki Sharin and started the instantaneous technique, and dodged in embarrassment. Boom boom boom. Not only that, there were also many sand fists in the sand sea, and they furiously attacked Atsuki Shinichi. Shinichi Atsuki kept hitting light one after another to resist those sand fists one after another. Sand fists were exploded by Shinichi Atsuki, but what Atsuki Shinichi didn't know was that during this process, Ryubana had quietly left the Flying Thunder God technique on the side of Atsuki Sharin. He attacked Atsuki Shinichi so fiercely, just to attract Atsuki Shinichi's attention and prevent Atsuki Shinichi from realizing his true purpose. After all, Detangma Sharin is still a child. No matter how talented he is, his strength is still very weak. The Black Hand who was secretly dropped by Liu Kang also didn't know at all. After leaving the Flying Thunder God technique on Detangma Sharin's body, Ryuban's purpose has been achieved. When he thought of it, he immediately put away his technique. The two big senseis that forced Shinichi Atsuki into one head and two big senseis stopped like that. 2. Go slowly. Then Ryubana waved his hands to Shinichi Atsuki and the two of them, and while the two of them stared at them very dumbfoundedly, they left with a magic of divine power. Shinichi Atsuki, people from Data and Mush, you two look at me, I look at you, both looked dumbfounded. Chapter 157. They really don't know why that inexplicable Uchiha man made such an inexplicable one. Suddenly he came out and shot them, and he suddenly left when he clearly had an absolute advantage. Sharon, let's go back quickly. After thinking about it, Shinichi Atsuki hurriedly pulled Atsukusha into the aircraft and left the earth hurriedly. The ninja world is too complicated, and the road is blocked and slippery, so let's go home early. Whoosh, the aircraft lifted up into the sky with the two big barrels, and soon disappeared. Liu Ren returned to Konoha by using the magic of divine power, but was called into the Hokage office just after returning. Undoubtedly, it was because the U9 mission was killed. 3 generations of Hokage. This matter is simply nonsense, ridiculous. How could Kuroki kidnap the children of the Hyuga family? Does he have a reason for doing this? It's not good to say that, although the eyes of the Hyuga clan are very powerful, I don't necessarily see Union. My U9 mission came to discuss the truce with your village with unparalleled sincerity, but was brutally attacked by your village for no reason, causing the death of King Himu. You must give us an account of this matter, otherwise, even if we, Union, go to war with Konoha again, we will never tolerate it. We are not that easy to bully. In the Naruto office, Rinchuan Dama stood in front of the crowd with a golden sword, aggressively shouting at Sarutobi and others for the injustice they had suffered. Obviously they have a nasty heart, but they are justified and strong as if they were a victim. Rinchuan-kun, don't worry, I apologize for what happened to Kuroki-kun. Sarutobi, his hand was sprayed on his face by a normal ninja, and he still put his posture very low. Don't worry, your mission encountered such an accident in Konoha. I promise you in the name of Hokage that I will give you an account of this matter, but before that, please let us clarify things first. Sarutobi Hizuki comforted Rinchuan and others. Huh? You better be like this. Whether we Union and Konoha are fighting or making peace, it all depends on your attitude of the 3rd generation of Aizen Hokage. Rinchuan hugged his arms and snorted arrogantly on the side. Uchiha Ryuki, please report the situation in detail at the time. Sarutobi Hizen said to Ryuki, according to the Konoha Guard's rotation schedule, I patrolled the route near the Hyuga clan land, and saw Kuroki captive Hyuga Hinata and quickly shifted outward. After seeing me, Kuroki didn't have any nonsense, he killed me when he felt out of Kuna, and then he was killed by me. Ryubana didn't have any subjective speculation, and told the truth about the situation at the time. Nonsense, why did Kuroki-kun take Hinata? Hinata abducted? You are clearly talking with Hinata and slandering us. 3 generations of Hokage, you have to be fair for us. Before Liu Ren's words fell, Rinchuan immediately shouted angrily on the side. Liu Bian seemed to have not heard it at all and ignored it. Sarutobi Hizen calmed down again, and then asked Hyuga Hizuto to tell the story again. Hyuga Nizu's words are exactly the same as Ryuzen, but Rinko was killed by Ryuzen and Hinata Nizu, who slandered them in one fell swoop. It still clamored. If Konoha could not give them an explanation, even if he did not hesitate to fight, he would defend Yunin's dignity. I already know the matter, Rinchuan-kun, you should go back first. I will definitely give you a satisfactory answer to this matter, Sarutobi Hizen finally said so after temporarily dismissing Rinko and other members of the Yunin mission. Sarutobi Hizen left Hyuga Hizu and Ryubana behind. Hokage-sama, I can swear that what I said before is true, Hyuga Hizuka explained to Sarutobi Hizuki. However, Sarutobi Hizuki waved his hand and interrupted Hyuga Hizu. Hizu, what happened to this matter is no longer important. The art of politics is never right or wrong, you understand. Hyuga Hizu was taken aback for a moment, and then stopped talking. As the patriarch of Konoha's best clan, how could he not understand the meaning of Sarutobi Hizuki? If there is more conclusive evidence, it is natural to nail Himu's crimes into an iron case, but now the key is that apart from Hinata Nizu and Uchiha Ryuba, there are no other direct witnesses. Rinko accuses Hyuga Nizu and Uchiha Ryuba of joining forces, and both Hyuga and Nizu are also presenting their own facts in this case. A game is indeed needed. What is a game? It is the bargaining chips of both sides and the demands of the players of both sides. Hokage-sama, what do you mean? Go back, Sun Tzu. It was not you who killed Kuroki, so forget everything about today. Sarutobi Hizen waved his hand to Hyuga Sun Tzu. Hyuga Hizuka immediately understood the meaning of Sarutobi Hizen. It seems that Master Naruto was planning to sacrifice that Uchiha Ryubana to calm Yunin's anger. Hyuga Hizu turned his head and glanced at Ryubana on the side. A flash of unbearableness flashed in his eyes. After all, the other party had saved his daughter's life, and said he was kind to the Hyuga clan. However, in the game between the two villages, the life and death of an individual is insignificant. In addition to regretting, Hyuga could not do more. When Liu Ren heard this, the whole person couldn't help but sneered. Sarutobi cut his old coin, intending to treat himself like Hyuga Nizu in the original work. Do you want to use your own life to calm the anger of the Yunin mission? But think about it, Hyuga Hizu is the patriarch of the Hyuga clan, and Sarutobi Hizuki doesn't care about it at all. If it weren't for Hyuga Nizu, who took the initiative to die on his elder brother and was forced to die in the end, then it must be Hyuga Nizuka. Even the patriarch of the second largest clan after the Uchiha clan is like this, let alone a member of the Konoha guards himself. Uchiha Ryubana, the third ninja war has been fought for so many years, and both Konoha and various countries have suffered greatly from the war, especially Konoha, who has used the power of one country to contend against other countries for so many years. Countless ninjas have been killed on the battlefield, and the villagers have also suffered from the war. Sarutobi Hizen started to talk with Ryuzen with his hands on his back. Chapter 158. The sneer that evoked at the corner of Liu Bian's mouth could not help but exacerbate it a bit. Sure enough, the development of the matter was exactly the same as I expected. When I heard the beginning, I knew that Sarutobi Hizen was using his righteousness to brainwash himself. Let yourself die. After a long, impassioned talk, Sarutobi Hizen walked to Liu Ren's side, speaking earnestly and honestly. Now Konoha has finally ushered in the long-awaited peace, which countless ninjas have exchanged for their lives. Konoha, we need such a peace. This negotiation is very important to Konoha, and no mistakes are allowed. In order to seek a peaceful and stable life for the villagers, sometimes it is necessary to make certain sacrifices. Your Uchiha clan has always been an important part of the village. I trust you deeply. I believe you will dedicate your strength for the development of the village, right, your own life, and Konoha's hard-won peace. I think you know how to choose. After Sarutobi Hizen finished speaking, he sat back in his supreme position again, and spit out the dry smoke in his mouth. Strategizing the overall situation in hand. This set of brainwashing skills of the will of fire Sarutobi Hizen has been so perfect. I don't know how many ninjas have used it for so many years. It has never failed. Now Sarutobi Hizen believes that a young man like Uchiha Ryu must be enthusiastic by himself, and he can't wait to die for Konoha right away. Also proud of it. So having said so much, you just let me die. Liu Ren glanced sarcastically at Sarutobi. Your sacrifice is not meaningless. You will bring peace to Konoha, and your spirit will continue. Sarutobi Hizen continued to brainwash. Where the leaves fly, the fire is endless. Ha ha ha. What made Sarutobi Hizen didn't expect was that his will of fire technique was completely useless this time. and Uchiha Ryu laughed out loud. Not only that, but the other person's smile was full of endless contempt and ridicule, looking at himself as if he was looking at a fool. Sarutobi slashed his brows and frowned. Feeling something wrong, he looked at Uchiha Ryubana condescendingly and asked, Uchiha Ryubana, what are you laughing at? Sarutobi Risen, are you really a dog? Liu Ren shook his head repeatedly, and said with a sigh, if Ryuzen really made a big mistake. Sarutobi Hizaki wanted him to die. He had nothing to say, but now Ryuzen is acting in accordance with the Konoha Guard's regulations, only performing his own duties in this case. Sarutobi Hizen also wanted to punish Ryubane, so Ryubane would naturally not agree. What did you say? Sarutobi Hitachi stood up suddenly, his voice suddenly raised several octaves, and he couldn't believe his ears. There are ninjas who dare to insult themselves as a dog in front of them. Sarutobi had never encountered such a thing in his life. The shock was so huge that Sarutobi Risen was stunned, and he didn't know how to react for the time being. Since Konoha's peace comes so hard, and since you want to think about Konoha so much, why don't you sacrifice yourself? If you want to kneel and lick Yun, it is your own business. I have no opinion at all. Even if you kowtow to Yun and ask them to kiss their father, I have no opinion, but you used my life to kneel and lick Yun. Did you make a mistake? I'll tell you the truth. Sarutobi Hiji, you, what a shit. Ryubin word by word like a knife, relentlessly pierced Sarutobi Risen's heart. Uchiha Ryubana, you. Sarutobi Hizen seemed to be struck by lightning, pointing at Ryubana with trembling hands, unable to even speak. What you, go to your uncle. The moment Ryubin entered the fairy mode, the body shook, and the person suddenly turned into a stream of light, and appeared in front of Sarutobi Risen as fast as lightning. He slapped Sarutobi Hizen's face with a fierce slap. Snapped. A crisp applause suddenly sounded. The two sides were at such a close distance, and Sarutobi Hizen himself was in great shock, and he did not expect that Ryuzen would dare to do something with him. I didn't notice it. And he was slapped away by Ryubin. Boom. His huge body hit the wall directly. Chapter 112. The Uchiha clan killed 3 generations again. Uchiha Ryubana, would you dare to do something to me? Sarutobi Risen climbed up from the ground. His face was full of incomparable shock and disbelief, and he screamed at Liu Jian in disbelief. This ninja not only dared to speak rudely to himself, but also dared to openly act on himself. Or was it a very insulting move like slapped? Sarutobi Risen's sanguine is almost shattered. How about doing it to you? Liu Ren clapped his hands and said lightly, it seems that I just did a trivial thing. Whoosh whoosh. Several silhouettes flashed by at this time, and suddenly appeared in the Naruto office. But they were the dark ninjas who were in charge of vigilance. The movement of Sarutobi Risen being abused had already shocked them, and they rushed over at the first time. Master Naruto, what happened just now? A member of the squad bowed on one knee and saluted Sarutobi high, and asked in a deep voice. Chapter 159. This person has betrayed Konoha. He tried to assassinate me just now and commit trouble. Get him down from me. Sarutobi Hitori instructed the members of the ANB in a deep voice. The faces behind the masks of all the ANBU players couldn't help flashing a look of surprise. Someone dared to assassinate Naruto-sama, haha. They launched the instantaneous technique for the first time, and Tuanchuan surrounded Ryubin. Sarutobi Risen, you can think clearly. If you are impulsive, you will die. Liu Ren didn't even glance at the ANB who surrounded him, but said to Sarutobi Hizen threateningly, are you threatening me? Sarutobi Risen snorted coldly. He had never seen such an arrogant guy. Yes, there was only such a sonorous and powerful word in response to Sarutobi Rishi. Sarutobi Risen was stunned by Liu Ren and directly poured it back, almost suffocating the chrysanthemum with a sullen old face. He sternly shouted at the dark people who had surrounded Ryubin, take it. Life or death. Whoosh whoosh. A group of people rushed towards Ryubin from all around. A meaningless attempt. Liu Ren curled his lips disapprovingly, and the man entered the fairy mode in an instant. Chidori, happiness. A large piece of lightning condensed around him instantly, and all the ANB ninjas that charged up were electrocuted to the ground in the first place. From appearance to Gamiver, it didn't even take half a minute to add up. It was so clean and tidy. Sarutobi Hizen's expression changed, and then he instantly reacted to something. He began to lose his face in shock. This kind of thunder ninjutsu, you are the Uchiha who appeared with Uchiha. It's you, this kind of powerful thunder ninjutsu that can take down a group of upper ninjutsu if he lifts lightly and casually, plus the identity of Uchiha, there can be no second person. After recognizing Ryubin's identity, Sarutobi Risen felt that a cold sweat was coming out of his back when Kushina was giving birth. Konoha really understood the enemy's enchanting strength. It is not an exaggeration to say that the opponent alone has the power to destroy a ninja village. Even Sarutobi Hitachi, encountering this kind of enchanting ninja, can't calm down. Yes, it's me, Liu Ren nodded without denying. So I have reminded you a long time ago, don't seek death by yourself. Sarutobi Hizen was not an ordinary character after all. And soon calmed down after being extremely shocked. A pair of eyes stared at Liu Blade, and he asked in a deep voice, you have such strength, but you have been hiding in the village forever. What is your purpose, with a dead person? Do I have to say so much? Liu Ren shrugged, his eyes switched directly to the kaleidoscope writing wheel. Not good. At this moment, Sarutobi Hizen suddenly felt an extremely unpleasant feeling. Apart from anything else, he immediately launched the instantaneous technique to dodge click. It was also at that critical moment that Sarutobi Hizen's entire right arm was broken shoulder to shoulder. He was cut off by an inexplicable force that he couldn't understand at all. That is Liu Bian's remote divine might. Originally, Ryublade was aimed at the head of Sarutobi Hizen, but he didn't expect that Sarutobi Hizen's reaction was faster, and he actually dodged in the first place. As a result, Liu Bian's long-range supernatural power was missed. It's worthy of the third generation of Hokage. Liu Ren let out a voice of admiration. This admiration came from the heart. After all, he could escape the remote powers, and he was really proud of it. However, in Sarutobi's ears, he felt extremely ridiculous and sarcasm. Who is he? Dignified Konoha Hokage. There is also the legend of the strongest Hokage in the world. All 5 chakra attributes are proficient, and they have mastered massive ninjutsu. Now that he was killed in a face-to-face encounter, the other party even praised him. Don't bully people too much. However, Sarutobi Hizen also understood the huge gap between himself and Ryubana, and he hadn't even considered fighting Ryubana or something at the beginning. 4 generations of eyes, Zilai Yi, Unvzhi Wei, Chudeo Dingzuo. So many powerful people all pounced on this person's hands. How can he deal with such an enemy if he is a Sarutobi Hitachi / The most correct approach is to make a strategic retreat and preserve the vitality. So after evading the remote divine power of Ryublade, Sarutobi Hizen directly drew out a huge shuriken and shook his hand and shot it at Ryubana. Boom! Still in the air, the huge shurikens directly turned into countless ordinary shurikens, and they began to shoot at Liu Bian overwhelmingly. Of course, Sarutobi Hitachi's move was not for the enemy. He knew that such an attack would not have any effect on Ryubana. He was just trying to delay a little bit of time and fight for a chance to escape for himself. Nothing more. Jingle bells. Liu Bian switched the pupil technique to the short-range divine power, and all the shurikens automatically passed through his body and hit the wall behind him. But at this time, Sarutobi Hizen was already rushed to the window, and he was about to break through the window and escape. Can you escape? Liu Bian's eyes switched again and turned into reincarnation eyes. Anyway, there can be no Baiju in Hokage's office. Chapter 160. He entered the fairy mode before and also sensed other people who were not hidden here. And again, Liu Bian used to be cautious because of lack of strength, but now Liu Bian has so many cards, and his strength is so strong. Even if the Eyes of Reincarnation were really exposed, Liu Ren didn't care much anymore. Vientian Xianayan. However, seeing Ryun calmly stretched out his hand to Sarutobi Hizen, a huge suction force appeared instantly. Sarutobi Hizen's body was just so uncontrollably sucked back by Ryubana with a movement of Liu Bian's thoughts. The black rod of Samsara's eyes condensed directly, and the heart of Sarutobi Hizen was pierced with a sneer. Boom! Then Ryubana was like throwing garbage, and he threw the body of Sarutobi Hitachi on the ground. Sarutobi Hizen pointed at Liu Bian with a trembling finger, and he died without finishing a complete sentence. The 3 generations of Sarutobi were cut and died. The current Liu Bian had been wretched for so long, and his strength had reached the pinnacle of today's ninja world. Naturally, he didn't have so many worries when he acted. If someone threatens him, even if the opponent is Hokage, he will never show mercy. Somebody is coming. At this time Liu Bian sensed that there were several chakra waves approaching quickly outside, and it was obvious that other Anbu ninjas sensed the movement here and rushed over. Liu Bian didn't panic, and Shenwubi pupil technique was used, and the whole person disappeared directly. It wasn't until the figure of Ryubana completely disappeared that a group of dark ninjas rushed into the Naruto office. The corpse of Sarutobi Hizen on the ground came directly into their eyes. All the dark ninja faces changed drastically. Kiki used the instant technique to rush to the front of Sarutobi Hizen. Hokage-sama, an Anbu ninja hurriedly started to check the life characteristics of Sarutobi Hizen. The whole person shuddered and almost sat down on the ground. Hokage-sama was killed, the Anbu ninja said in a terrible voice. What? Everyone at the scene lost their voices. They were shocked, they were puzzled, and they couldn't accept it. Who is it that killed Lord Naruto? Konoha tonight is destined to be a sleepless night. The news of Sarutobi Hizen's killing was soon secretly notified to some Konoha high-level officials. The root boss Miro Menayan, the patriarch of the pig, deer and butterfly, and the patriarch of the Hyuga clan soon gathered in the Hokage office. The only exception is that there is no patriarch of the Uchiha clan. This is because the root gangster Miro Menayan, who came here after analysis, found that this matter is likely to be the work of the Uchiha people. Of course, because this fact is too important, and it is in the critical period of signing a peace treaty with Union, no one else is aware of this matter except for these core high-level personnel. This matter has been kept highly confidential for the time being. Sandemu is actually killed. What exactly is going on? Even the big guys were shocked to the extreme after seeing the corpse of Sarutobi Rishi, and they couldn't believe the scene in front of them. Several senior executives almost stared their eyes out. Kakashi, you members of the Anbu team were the first to find the body of the third generation of Eyes. Now, you will describe everything at that time to everyone. After all the high levels were in place, Miro Menayan told Kakashi, our team is responsible for guarding the vicinity of the Hokage Building. Not long after Hinata Hizusama left, we heard some fighting sounds faintly coming from the Hokage Building, so we rushed in at the first moment, trying to check what happened, but at that time, Sandame had already been killed, and the Zanbu colleagues have all been killed. The matter is still very simple. Kakashi quickly described the story to everyone. After everyone listened, all brows frowned because from Kakashi's description, there was no clue about the murderer from the beginning to the end. It seemed that the murderer had already left before they arrived. Have you found any suspicious people? Narashikasa still asked unwillingly on the side. No one found anything. After we came in, there was no one else except the bodies of colleagues Sandame and Anb. Kakashi replied in a deep voice, before you came in, did you find any suspicious people going out? Narashikasa asked again. Kakashi also shook his head. The brows of the high-level Konoha couldn't help but frown. It can be clearly seen from the various traces on the scene that these dark ninjas were basically not able to participate in the battle. Most of them were killed by a powerful thunder ninjutsu in an instant. 3 generations should only use one shadow clone shuriken, and they were also killed quickly before they had time to use other tricks. No matter who the shot is, he has the ability to far surpass the 3rd generation target and kill the 3rd generation target in a very short time. After observing the fighting traces at the scene for a while, Narashika made such an analysis. This point doesn't need to be said for a long time by Naralu. Everyone present can see it, so their complexion has become so solemn. Look again. These 3 generation shurikens split by the shadow clone shuriken technique are all evenly shot on this wall. Obviously without any external influence. There are only 2 possibilities. 1 or 3 generations missed the target, but with the strength of the 3rd generation purpose, it is still limited to the extremely limited space of the Hokage office, which is impossible. Then there is only the second possibility. The murderer did not use any defensive means, but completely avoided these shurikens at an extremely fast speed. This kind of speed is not something that the instantaneous technique can do at all, and there are no traces of other ninjutsu at the scene. Everyone, what have you thought of? Chapter 161. Naraluji looked serious and analyzed. Shadow Clone Shuriken is a kind of ninjutsu with a wide range of attacks, and at such a close distance, it can be perfectly avoided without any force on the shuriken. It is impossible to achieve by instantaneous shuriken. In Naraluji's mind, he thought of 2 techniques, or to be precise, thought of a person. The other Konoha executives glanced at each other, and they all saw the same answer in each other's eyes. If you want to achieve this level, unless it is Watergate's Thunder Art, or the Uchiha art can make the body virtual. Mena and Miro spoke slowly on the side, and said what everyone thought. With the exact same Thunder Ninjutsu, the murderer is likely to be the guy who released the Kyuubi with Uchiha this oil last time. This is the only reason why Mena and Mito did not notify the chief Uchiha bringing oil to kill the 4th generation of Hokage. Another Uchiha person was suspicious enough to kill the 3rd generation of Hokage. Konoha no longer believes in the Uchiha clan. By the way, where's Uchiha Ryubana? Hyuga Nizu asked. At this moment he remembers clearly. After he left, Uchiha Ryu was left alone here. Chapter 113. The Uchiha clan must be destroyed. When we came in, there were only the bodies of colleagues Sandame and Anb, and Ryubana Uchiha was not found. Before we came in, we never saw Uchiha Ryubana go out. In front of the big bosses, Kakashi once again described the situation with a solemn expression. In other words, we don't know whether Uchiha Ryubana is dead or alive. Narulukusa frowned slightly, then he turned his gaze to Menai and Mito. We need to confirm the condition of Uchiha Ryubana right now. Menai and Mito is also an experienced and sophisticated ninja, and he can naturally think of some things. Hearing what Narulukusa said, he nodded. I have sent someone to investigate secretly. Please stay calm. After waiting for a while, a rooted ninja used the instant technique to come in front of the big guys and reported to Menai and Mito. It has been confirmed. Uchiha Ryubana just returned to the clan land not long ago. Hearing these words, the expressions of everyone at the scene couldn't help becoming very solemn, because something is too wrong. Since Uchiha Ryubana was not dead at all, why did he leave the matter so important that even Hokage was killed, instead of choosing to report to it? You guys have gone through an extremely rigorous analysis and restoration of the scene. In terms of time, Sandaime was killed shortly after Hyuga Hizu left us for the purpose of leaving Uchiha Ryubana alone for the third generation. Everyone present was very clear that this must not be done in a very short time. If Uchiha Ryuhan is okay, he has a great possibility of being a witness to the assassination of Sandaime. Unless Sandaime left Uchiha Ryubana behind, he left Uchiha Ryubana without saying a few words. This makes sense in terms of time, but fooling people is not so fast in this case. Uchiha Ryubana returned to the clan land silently, which is very interesting. Of course, the 3 generations of Mu did not die sooner or later. But when the U9 mission was killed by Ryubana and Ryubana was facing a crisis of being sacrificed, it was already very interesting in itself. How is Uchiha Ryubana now? Mito Menayan asked again. It's business as usual. He is eating with his parents now, and Ninja replied immediately. Mito Menitis, Hyuga Nissa, Narulukusa, other big shots. The bones of the 3 generations were not cold. The corpse was lying in front of them, the heart was pierced, and the blood ran all over the ground. How could it be a tragic word as a result? Uchiha Ryubana, who was very suspicious of this, was eating at home like a okay person. Does this guy have such a big heart, or does this person really have nothing to do with this matter? Everyone, what do you think? After a moment of silence in the office, Mena and Mito began to look at the bosses and ask other bosses for their opinions. Luju, you have always been resourceful and resourceful. We want to hear your opinion. Turning to sleep, Zaijin turned his head and looked at Naruluju and said, from the clues we have so far, Uchiha Ryubana is very suspicious. There is a possibility that he will leave the Hokage office before the 3rd generation is killed, but it is very small. After all, the time is too short. Then our next considerations, it is best to make the worst plan. When Menia was killed, Ryuzen Uchiha was on the scene. If this hypothesis is true, then we must first face a question. Is it possible for Uchiha to kill the 3rd generation target person? Naruto has been analyzing it methodically for a long time, and everyone at the scene feels a little heavy. In fact, whether the murderer is Uchiha Ryubana or not, we must treat Uchiha Ryubana with care, because even if the killer is not Uchiha Ryubana, he must have a close relationship with Uchiha Ryubana. When Kushina-sama gave birth, although the mysterious Uchiha man shot and injured many people, he did not kill any of them. Even the 3rd generation was severely injured by this person, but now that person killed Sandaime, and it was still in a sensitive period when Uchiha Ryubana was about to be sacrificed by Sandaime. We have to doubt the man's motives. We have enough reasons to suspect that he killed Sandaime for the sake of Uchiha Ryubana. In other words, whether the murderer is Uchiha Ryubana or not, we must treat it with caution and not take it lightly. In view of the extreme danger of the murderer, I suggest that you should not take any drastic measures against Uchiha Ryuhan. Now that the peace negotiations with U9 have reached the most critical moment, there must be no mistakes. Narulukusa's words caused the high levels on the scene to nod their heads slowly, and God could see that they were really stunned by the mysterious Uchiha. Don't dare to do anything rashly. Because Konoha can no longer withstand any sacrifice and stimulation, go and ask Uchiha Ryubana to come over, Mena and Miro said to the root member who was waiting after thinking for a while. Chapter 162. Yes. Mito Menayan-sama, the man replied respectfully, and disappeared in the blink of an eye using the instant technique, and quickly conveyed this order to Uchiha Ryubana. Father and mother, since Master Mito Menayan has summoned, I will go back. Ryuzen and Uchiha's Chuho couple said hello, and then followed the root member to the Hokage office. The moment he stepped into the Hokage office, Mito Menayan, Narulukusa and others unanimously cast their eyes on Uchiha Ryubana. Ryuban's complexion was extremely calm from beginning to end, with no change at all. Just as everyone watched, he swaggered into the office. The corpse of Saratobi Hisuki and the corpses of several people were lying on the floor in a vertebral way. And it was hard not to pay attention, but Ryuban just glanced, and then withdrew his gaze, calmly facing Mito Menayan and said, Master Miro Menayan, I don't know why I am called here. It looked like the corpse of Sarutobi Hiji, and it didn't exist at all. This calmness was deeply seen by Mito Menayan and others. A certain guess in their hearts became firmer. You don't seem surprised to see the third generation corpse, Zuan Xiaochin said sharply on the side. As a ninja who has been on the battlefield, you have seen a lot of dead people a long time ago? Liu Jian casually replied blankly. He doesn't even bother to pretend after all, since the moment Sarutobi slashed and died. Liu Bian was destined to have a huge suspicion that couldn't be washed away, and it would be no use pretending to be seamless, so why bother to pretend? What's more, with Liu Ren's current strength, there is no longer any need to pretend, even if it is a showdown with Konoha. What can Konoha do with himself? In the final analysis, the strength that is strong enough to push everything horizontally is Liu Bian's greatest confidence, and I'm not fainted. Liu Bian added something nonchalantly. The blade-like attitude irritates Xiaochin to turn to bed very lightly. He is not fainted. Is this my old lady telling you about the fainting? Even if you don't faint, it's your Hokage after all. It's dead in front of you. You can give some reaction. Well, Uchiha Ryuba, you were the last person to see Sandame before he was killed. What happened when Sandame left you alone after Patriarch Hyuga left? Mito Menayan continued to ask questions. I am not very clear. After Lord I left me, he ordered me to go back and reflect on what happened today, and then I went back. Liu Ren's face is not red and heartbeats nonsense. When you left, the third generation was still good. The corners of Mito Menayan's mouth twitched. Yes, Master Miro Menayan, Ryubian replied solemnly. After that, did anything suspicious happen, or any suspicious person? Have you seen it? No. Mito Menayan asked a few more questions next, and Liu Bian always asked 3 questions, and picked himself up clean. Well, you go back first, but you must remember that everything you see here must be kept secret. Especially the news of the death of the third generation must not be disclosed to anyone, understand? After Mito Menayan solemnly confessed to Ryun, he asked Ryun to go back temporarily. Liu Bian was taken aback for a moment. Originally, he wanted to wait for the big guys to ruthlessly expose his inferior lies, and even take some coercive measures against himself as a result. I didn't expect the board to be lifted high and fell gently. After asking myself a few words painlessly, I just let myself go. But Ryubian quickly guessed that Konoha didn't take measures against himself now, which meant that he had a bigger plan and a deeper conspiracy. It doesn't matter, no matter what tricks you use, just use it. Liu Ren shrugged and didn't take the matter to heart at all. Anyway, soldiers came to cover the water. Outrageous. This Uchiha Ryubana is too arrogant. Bang! It wasn't until Ryubane left that Mito Menayan patted the table again angrily, and snorted angrily. It's basically certain now. This matter must be inseparable from Uchiha Ryudo. Narashikasa made a summary. The other people couldn't help nodding their heads again and again. They were not blind, and everyone had seen the swift reaction just now. Even if Uchiha Ryubana is not a murderer, he must have an extremely close relationship with a murderer, otherwise he could not be so confident. Then the following question comes again. Except for Uchiha Ryubana, is there any relationship between Uchiha Fudake and the murderer? What about other Uchiha tribesmen? Is it related? In addition to the murderer, there is also the Uchiha who killed the 4 generations of Uchiha. Did the Uchiha clan have long known his existence? Is there any shadow of the Uchiha clan behind the deaths of the 3rd and 4th generations? Immediately afterwards, one very serious problem after another was thrown out, causing the entire office to fall into great silence. The atmosphere at the scene was simply suppressed to the extreme. After all, whether the Kyuubi rebellion or the 3rd generation purpose was killed, such a huge handwriting makes it difficult to completely separate the Uchiha clan. If these successive incidents were all operated by the Uchiha clan behind the scenes, then the matter would be much more serious. The Uchiha clan, it's hard to say. A cold light flashed in Mito Menayan's eyes, and he spit out such a sentence heavily from his mouth. The others in the office were slightly surprised. They all felt a chill flashing in Mito Menayan's words. Mito Menayan, the Uchiha clan is a matter of great importance. Don't be hasty. Narashika was surprised for a long time. We don't know whether the Uchiha clan was involved in this matter at all. It doesn't matter anymore, Lu Jiu. Even if the Uchiha clan really did not participate in these 2 events, after they learned about the death of the 3rd generation, can you guarantee that they will not be rebellious when they learn that there are 2 Uchiha clan members who have the power to easily crush Konoha? Will they not be tempted? If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. we warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 163. According to the information I got, the Uchiha clan has been investigating the whereabouts of the two people. Do you really think they have no other thoughts, when they'll really find the two clansmen? Luju, can you guarantee that they won't do anything to Konoha? Mito Menayan asked repeatedly, but Nara Lukasa was speechless because of the fatal issues raised by Miro Menayan. He could not guarantee it all. As for the Uchiha clan's attempt to contact Dato and another mysterious Uchiha, this is not Mito Menayan humiliation, but true after all. Two powerful traitors suddenly appeared in the clan, and Uchiha's investigation is also natural, but in the past, you could say that it was human nature, and you could convince yourself that Uchiha had no other thoughts, but what about now? Uchiha Ryubana has a very close connection with that mysterious Uchiha. And it may even be that Uchiha, who would dare to say that the Uchiha clan had no other ideas? What's more, everyone knows how many radicals are in the Uchiha clan. The towering tree wants to thrive, and it can't just grow under the sun. The roots buried in the rotten silt under the ground are also drawing nutrients for it. If there is no root that can't see the light, and only the sun shines, the big tree will die sooner or later, Mena and Miro said meaningfully on the side at this time, and many people's complexions changed slightly. Well, although this matter is important, it needs a long-term consideration. The most important thing now is the peace talks with Union. After a pause, Mena and Mito turned his words again and began to speak sternly. All the big guys on the scene frowned when they heard it. This is the big problem that needs to be solved immediately before their eyes with Union's urinary sex. It is certain that when they know that the third generation of the Eye is dead, they will definitely do something. Chapter 114. The earth is covered by my Uchiha Raya blade. The atmosphere in the Hokage office can be said to be very heavy. The third generation of Eyes was killed on this very sensitive knot, which indeed left everyone with a huge problem. When Sarutobi Risen was still alive, Union had such an arrogant attitude, let alone Sarutobi Risen was gone. Everyone in the office now knows very well that the news of Sarutobi's death must not reach the ears of the Union mission, but Sarutobi Rishi, as Konoha's Hokage, is now a crucial period for mediating Union and Konoha mission. If he keeps not showing up, Union mission will definitely doubt it. Not long ago, Sarutobi Risen had promised to give Union's mission a satisfactory answer. What's more, even if the current level is passed, Sarutobi Risen must show up when the treaty is finally signed. It seems that it is very unrealistic to keep the Union mission secret before signing the treaty. Even if a peace treaty was signed, he couldn't sit back and relax. If news of Sarutobi's death comes out, it would not be a strange thing for Union to tear up the contract in the ninja realm. The strength is the king. How much binding power can a piece of paper really count on? There is a prerequisite for everyone to abide by the treaty. That is, the strength of the two parties is equal. If Konoha's strength is weakened, who will care about the treaty? Everyone. This is the problem facing us right now. If you have any opinions, let's talk freely. Mena and Miro supported the glasses on the bridge of his nose and said to everyone. His voice sounded full of solemnity. Everybody, you can't think of a very good way. After all, this matter itself is contradictory. It's not easy to solve until midnight. After a fierce discussion, Narashikaisa came up with a very bold idea. A ninja pretends to be Sarutobi Hitachi, and continues to guard Konoha until the peace treaty is successfully signed with the Union mission. Everyone, I know that this method is a bit disrespectful to Lord III, but there really is no other better method now. This peace negotiation is very important. There must be no mistakes, otherwise Union will definitely continue to fight me. Konoha, after losing the fourth generation, Konoha has already lost its deterrent power to the villages. If the news of the third generation's death is also spread, it is difficult to guarantee that other villages will not be ready to move. There is only one way. Look at me, I look at you, other big guys. In the end, they all agreed to Nara Lucas's approach. Then there are specific candidates. After rigorous consultation, this extremely arduous task fell on Mito Menayan. Mito and Hisaki Sarutobi were both ninjas at the same time and students at the same time. They recently participated in village affairs as consultants. It can be said that he has the most contact with Sarutobi High/ and knows Sarutobi High/ best. Miro Menayan pretended to be Sarutobi Hitachi, and it was less likely to reveal any flaws. The next day, Menayan Mito used his transformation technique to become Sarutobi's son/ went to the Union mission, and personally apologized to the U9 mission and made a certain amount of compensation. This incident is considered to be over. The peace negotiations were able to continue from start to finish. There is no trouble finding the upper hand. It seems that Liu Bian's nonsense in Hokage's office at night was convinced by everyone. However, Liu Ren didn't pay attention to this matter either. When Sarutobi Risen apologized to U9's mission, Liu Ren had already used the magic of divine power to appear on the moon. Undoubtedly, the purpose was naturally to sign in the castle of Dad and Mush people hum. In the first moment, Liu Bian entered the fairy mode, and he felt all the chakra fluctuations in the entire castle combined with the memories of related animations in his mind. Liu Bian found the location of the giant reincarnation eye with almost no effort and sneaked in silently, without attracting anyone's attention. Ling. A sign-in location is detected. The location of the giant reincarnating eye. Do you want to sign in? Just after appearing in front of the giant reincarnated eye, such a reminder sounded in Liu Bian's mind. Sign in. What can be hesitating about this? Chapter 164. Liu Bian immediately replied with excitement in his mind. Ling. Congratulations to the host for signing in successfully and getting the reward for reincarnation. At the same time this prompt sounded, the pupils in Liu Bian's eyes suddenly became a pair of reincarnated eyes. Eye of rebirth. It is really reincarnated eye. This trip to the moon is really not in vain. Liu Bian almost laughed out of excitement. This reincarnated eye can be said to be the super big one that Liu Bian obtained, second only to the reincarnation eye. Among ninja world, I am the only person who has both reincarnation eyes and reincarnation eyes. Right, Liu Ren thought with excitement. He immediately felt the state of reincarnation eye carefully. The appearance of this reincarnation eye is not like the 6 immortals, with a vertical pupil on the forehead, or an extra eye in other places, but directly using his original eyes. So is the eye of reincarnation still there? With a movement of Liu Bian's mind, his eyes became reincarnation eyes again, and then the pupils of the kaleidoscope writing round eyes also function normally. Without any influence my mind moved again, and my eyes returned to their normal state. To put it simply, the reincarnation eye that Liu Bian currently obtains is also the same as those pupil techniques such as Amaterasu moon reading, so just switch it out when you use it. Logically speaking, it is impossible for the reincarnated eye to chaotic in the Shalanayan. It must be the adjustment made by the system. However, this is also in the middle of his arms. He doesn't want to grow a third eye in other parts of the body. It feels awkward to think about it that way. Could it be because I have bound the system, so the system will automatically fit my subconscious thoughts? Liu Ren couldn't help but think so, but this kind of thing is doomed to be impossible to verify. Who are you? How did you get here? At the moment Liu Bian was thinking about it, a shocked voice suddenly sounded behind him. Shinichi Atsuki couldn't help but be surprised. You know this is the moon. How can people on Earth come up? Even if it comes up, how can it be possible to find the extremely secret giant reincarnation eye? It is impossible to imagine whether it is good or not. Liu Bian turned around leisurely and found that it was Atsuki Shinichi and Atsuki Genyu, as well as a group of large wooden puppets brought by them. It's you. It's you again. At this time, Shinichi Atsuki saw Aya's face, and suddenly yelled in fright. Shinichi, do you know him? Atsumuzu Anayu asked, very surprised. All the ninjas on the planet worth paying attention to, such as Gakage, Zuli, etc., have all been concerned with giant reincarnation eyes, but the young boy in front of him is definitely not among them. He is the person I told you I met in Konoha? Shinichi Atsuki said bitterly to Zuanayu. Atsuki Genayuki was also slightly surprised. Atsuki Shinichi had already told him what had happened in Konoha. He was still very surprised that Atsuki Shinichi slumped in Konoha. After all, Atsuki Shinichi was very strong, and Hokage couldn't help him. But now, I can see that the ninja who caused Shinichi Atsuki to eat a deflated ninja is so young. Who are you? Why are you here? Please explain clearly. Shinichi Atsuki asked Liu Bian in a deep voice. At this time, don't you think it's more appropriate to say this after defeating me? Liu Ren shrugged and said with a hint of joking, arrogant. Atsuki Jin groaned angrily. And under his control, a group of large wooden puppets began to rush towards Liu Bian. The pupil in Liu Bian's eyes switched directly to the eyes of reincarnation, and he stretched out his hand at the puppets of Shinichi Atsuki, vomiting in his mouth. Suradeo, whoosh whoosh, several missiles were fired directly at the puppets, who rushed over. Boom boom boom. Amidst the dull and ear-splitting explosion, one after another burst of flames burst out. Those puppets that rushed towards Liu Bian did not have time to get close to Liu Bian. They were all blown up into slag, and there was no one left. The Eye of Reincarnation. That is, the Eye of Reincarnation. Shinichi Atsuki became more and more surprised. These were the eyes of the legendary 6 immortals, and they naturally did not dare to underestimate them. Is this what you rely on? If I were on the earth, I would still be afraid of you, but here, it is not your arrogant place. Shinichi Atsuki snorted again. The surprise on his face quickly subsided, and he became calm instead. On the moon, no matter how strong the enemy is, they are not afraid, because they have the ultimate weapon of the giant reincarnation eye. This is a super weapon that even the entire clan has to be wiped out. Snapped. Atsuki Jin slapped his palms violently, and a dazzling and holy light was projected from the giant reincarnation eye instantly, covering his whole person in it. It's like the rebirth eye chakra pattern of the Dadanmush people, except that the color is pure white, of course. This is just Shinichi Atsuki borrowing the power of the giant reincarnation eye. Although it looks similar to the reincarnation chakra pattern, it is completely different in terms of power. It is naturally inferior to the latter shoe. Then Atsuki Shinichi attacked Ryubana one after another. Ryubana just stood on the spot with ease, motionless. All the light ball attacks were evasive by him. Shinichi Atsuki's brows frowned suddenly. He doesn't know what the opponent's weird technique is, but if this continues, wouldn't the opponent be invincible? Chapter 165. When did such a difficult person appear in the ninja world? Rebirth Eye. Don't think that only you have this kind of thing. Ryubana smiled slightly at this time, and his thoughts moved. His eyes switched directly into Rebirth Eyes. Rebirth Eye. How can you have Rebirth Eye? Atsuki Shinichi and Atsuki Zuanayu screamed out in exclamation, shocked to the extreme. Reincarnating eyes are the unique eyes of their Atsuki clan. How could the Uchiha people on Earth have them? The Uchiha people are the descendants of the Six Ways, and the reincarnated eyes are the eyes of the Atsuki clan, who are descendants of Atsuki Ui. What's more, doesn't this Uchiha clan already have the Eyes of Reincarnation? Ryubana's reincarnation eye can be said to completely shatter the three views of Atsuki Shinichi in two. I know you have a lot of question marks at this moment, but it's a pity that I don't mean to answer them for you. Ryubana's voice was faint and his expression relaxed, but it brought unparalleled pressure on the two of Datongmu. Speaking of this, Ryubana's thoughts moved, and the person entered the Rebirth Eye chakra mode. Zuxu stretched his hand forward, and a jade for seeking Taoism directly condensed. It is worth noting that the Taoist jade here is not a 6th-level Taoist jade, but a Taoist jade condensed by Ryubana using the reincarnated eye. This is a special kind of jade for seeking Taoism. It is a jade for seeking Taoism that relies on the reincarnated eye. Once the reincarnation eye is lost, the jade for seeking Taoism cannot be used. This is the case with the people of Dadanmush, and Naruto's jade for seeking Taoism and Liu Daoban's for seeking Taoism are serious 6th-level Taoist jade, which has nothing to do with the eyes. This kind of jade requires chakras that integrate the 7 attributes of water, soil, wind and thunder. Strictly speaking, after Ryubana gained the reincarnation eye, he already had 7 chakras in his body, but that was only equivalent to a seed of 7 chakras, which was too small. The main chakra in Ryubana's body is still the fire chakra in his original body. Later, after receiving the 5 attribute chakra rewards, he became a true 5 attribute chakra ninja. But yin and yang chakras have always been lacking. There is no problem in making the black rod of reincarnation eyes, but it is a joke to condense the jade unless Liu Jian signs in to get the 9 big-tailed chakra rewards. In order to get 10-tailed chakras, the current missing yin and yang chakras can be completed at that time. He could condense the real 6th-level Taoist jade. Golden Wheel reincarnation explodes. After condensing into Chiudeo jade, Ryubana's Chiudeo jade turned into a big golden sword, and the sword smashed at Datongmu Shinichi. What? Shinichi Atsuki was shocked in the next moment. One practice after another flashed past. Laugh. Boom. Atsuki Mujin's reincarnation eye chakra coat was directly exploded, and he himself flew upside down as if hit by a meteorite. It slammed into the wall behind, and then fell to the ground like a dead dog. The big tube Muzuanayu on the other side did the same. Liu Jian controlled the golden sword and swept the goods, and also swept the goods away with just one sword. Datongmu Duo was severely injured by Ryubana. There was only a breath left. Huh? It's really not easy to control this super big move to such a weak level. Liu Ren couldn't help but sigh. It's pitiful to see that. In order not to explode Atsuki Shinichi in two directly at once, he still used a lot of energy to suppress the power of Jinlin reincarnation. Listen to you two old guys, don't make an idea of the earth in the future, because the earth is covered by me. After Liu Ren, he said to Shinichi Atsuki, incomparably domineering. Chapter 115. The secret weapon against Uchiha's clan. Why do you say that? What do you know? Shinichi Atsuki widened their eyes, staring at Liu Ren in disbelief, and asked. The admonition left by their ancestor, Datongmu Eye Village, destroyed the ninja world created by the 6 Dao immortals. Does this person know about this kind of thing? How could it be possible? But if this person doesn't know, what does he mean by warning himself not to hit the earth? However, Ryubana didn't bother to explain something to Shinichi Atsuki just about to leave the moon. Liu Ren stopped suddenly and looked at a corner behind the hall. Shinichi Atsuki followed Ryugen's gaze. His complexion changed drastically. The movement here alarmed the people of Dadanmush, who didn't even know when they came here. They were seriously injured and extremely shocked, but they didn't notice it at all. Sharon, go quickly, get out of here quickly. Atsuki Shinichi anxiously shouted to the Atsuki Sharon. As everyone knows, this is just a mere worry. Liu Ren didn't intend to take action against a few of them at all, otherwise, how could these two be dead? Strictly speaking, these Datongmu people are not bad people. They just misinterpreted the meaning of Dadanmu village. Even if they have the idea of destroying the earth, they haven't done anything yet, are they? Ryubana can't get rid of them just because of this, right? However, it is necessary to beat it. Chapter 166. Datongmu Sharon ran away, but just turned around and bumped into someone. Flow Edge, don't hurt him, he's still a kid. Atsuki Shinichi and the other two had their canthus splitting on one side, and they cried out crazy convection blade. But seeing Ryubana just squatted down in front of Datongmu Sharon, stretched out his hand to squeeze Datongmu Sharon's small face. Sharon, remember everything that happened today, and keep it deep in your mind. Don't have any dangerous thoughts that will destroy the ninja world in the future, because once you do this, I will kill you. After saying this, a group of divine mighty vortex appeared directly in Ryubana's pupils, and others were sucked into it and disappeared at this time. Datongmu Sharon couldn't help his legs softening, and he sat down on the ground. It's so pitiful. The pressure Ryubana puts on him is too great. When Ryubana is in front of him, he is like a wood, and the whole person froze. It wasn't until Ryubana left that his mind loosened his limbs to regain consciousness, and he suddenly found that his whole body was wet with cold sweat, and he couldn't stand still. Seeing that Ryubana hadn't moved the Atsuki Sharon, the two of Atsuki Shinichi on one side breathed a sigh of relief, but they also felt a sense of despair. There are such terrible Uchiha people on the earth. How can they fulfill the last wish of their ancestors? In Ryubana's room, a spatial vortex appeared, and Ryubana's figure quickly appeared. In the heart of Datongmu Sharon, I guess I have become a great demon king. Right, Liu Ren couldn't help but shook his head. Dadanmush was really frightened by Ryubana, even though Ryubana didn't say anything threatening to the opponent. When the child grows up, he wants to come to the earth to make waves again, so he must weigh it carefully. However, Ryubana did not intend to tell them the true intentions of Atsuki Yukin. This was a deep-rooted concept, and for this reason they even destroyed the clan. How strong can his belief be changed by a few words? So Ryubana just encouraged the people of Dadanmush and returned to the earth. Ryubana, Sandaime didn't do anything to you, right? Not long after, Uchiha Tamatek came in personally and asked Sandaime about the results of Kuroki's killing by Ryuzen, Master Patriarch. Don't worry, Master Naruto didn't embarrass me, he just told me to let me not be under psychological pressure. He will solve everything, and then let me come back. Ryubana would say the nonsense that he had said in the Hokage office again to Uchiha Tamatek. Fuyu expressed deep suspicion about this. Sarutobi's cutting of the old coin is not like this. However, Uchiha Tamatek did get the news, and the negotiations that had been interrupted because of Kuroki's killing have continued to advance. Obviously, Sarutobi hasn't had really handled the matter properly. With full of suspicion, Uchiha Tamatek left Ryuzen. He felt that this matter was full of weirdness. Not only Uchiha Ryubana is weird, but Sarutobi Hisaki is also weird. And when Uchiha Tamatek got the news that on the night Kuroki was killed, all the clan chiefs and Konoha high-level officials gathered quietly in the Hokage office to discuss matters on the night Kuroki was killed. This strange feeling reached its extreme. It's not that simple. Among them, there must be hidden feelings. Uchiha Tamatek more and more affirmed this guess in his mind. However, after a private investigation, no more clues were found. It was only found that there was a conflict in the Hokage office at that time. Several Anbu people died. Other than that, nothing can be found out. It is also worth noting that Sarutobi Hisaki seems to give Uchiha Tamatek a strange feeling, and Uchiha Tamatek is not sure if it is his own delusion. Thanks to Naruto-Kuhisa's strategy, the 3 generations of death, a blockbuster capable of causing turbulence in Konoha and even Ninja World, did not arouse any splashes except for the Konoha executives who participated in the resolution that evening. No one knew the truth of the matter. Sarutobi's son appeared in front of the villagers and Unine's mission when it needed to appear. and everything proceeded in an orderly manner. The peace negotiations with the United Mission have also made substantial progress. It is estimated that within a few days, the two sides can formally sign the armistice treaty. However, under the calm water, there was an invisible wave surging. Sarutobi Hisaki will hold secret meetings with some high-level officials almost every day to discuss how to treat the Uchiha clan, and there has also been substantial progress. Snapped. Naruto office man Ian Mito threw a document in front of Zuenkai Zaijin and several other high-level officials. The high-level officials picked up and took a look and saw that it was the information of a member of the Uchiha clan, Uchiha Shisu, a descendant of Uchiha Mirror. Like Uchiha Mirror, he has a very strong will to fire. He is one of the few in the Uchiha clan who transcends family restrictions and is loyal to the village. He has won the trust of 3 generations. Menayan Mito also opened his mouth to introduce while everyone was reading Uchiha Shisu's materials. Master Miro Menayan, what are your plans? Naruloji just glanced at Shisu's information and then let it go. Would he not know that Shishu is so famous? No need to read more information at all because of this. Narulukusa knew that Uchiha Shisu could not be the opponent of that mysterious Uchiha man in this case. Master Mito Menayan still pushed this person in front of everyone. Obviously there must be a comprehensive plan. Chapter 167. When Uchiha brought this oil to kill the 4th generation Mer, not long after the relationship between Uchiha and the village fell to a freezing point, Shisu took the initiative to find the 3rd generation Mer. He took the initiative to accept the task of improving the relationship between the village and Uchiha's clan, and confessed his pupil skills to Sandaime. I was there at the time. Uchiha Shisu's pupil technique is called Other Gods. It is a pupil technique that can modify the will of others without knowing it, even if it is for writing round eyes. It is still useful. Mito Menayan announced Shisu's pupil technique. The high-level people on the scene couldn't help but be surprised, secretly, subconsciously afraid of Hishu to the extreme, unknowingly modify the will of others. This is too bad. So Master Miro Menayan, do you want Shisu to modify Uchiha Ryubana's will? Army Master Narashikase understood the meaning of Mito Menayan at once. Yes, this is the only way. Mito Menayan nodded. The other big men looked at each other and exchanged opinions, and they all felt that this method was feasible. This method is feasible. Narashika nodded for a long time, and gave an affirmative answer. If the mysterious person is not Uchiha Ryuba, we can control him to say that person's identity, if he is that person. Narashikase didn't say anything, because even he didn't know how to deal with Ryukin if that was the case. In other words, this matter is very important. Even if Narashikase has an idea, he would not say it casually. But even if this is the case, once the opponent's will is modified, it is equivalent to a puppet of Shishu, and is it not subject to manipulation? No matter how to deal with it, it is nothing to worry about. The only question, is Uchiha Shisu really credible? Jile also asked in a deep voice. His loyalty has passed the test of me and the 3rd generation purpose at the same time, and there is no problem. Menayan Mito nodded and said the other high-level executives didn't say anything more, and passed the tests of the root leader and Hokage one after another, and there would be no problem in terms of loyalty, since everyone has no opinion. That's the decision. Mito Menayan waved his hand and gave the final word. Some other high-level people also breathed a sigh of relief, only feeling that the dashi in their hearts had finally disappeared. It's just that these people wouldn't expect that everything they discussed in the office would be clearly seen by Liu Bian using the telescope technique. Menayan Mito, even when they knew they were nonsense, still let them leave, making it clear that they were holding back some big move. How can Liu Bian be unprepared? Is Uchiha Shisu? This is indeed the best plan they can take right now. Mito Menayan's plan. Even saw Ryubian call it an expert, and couldn't help but silently praise it. Unfortunately, this plan was destined to fail from the beginning. After making the decision, Menayan Mito immediately ordered someone to quietly call Uchiha Shisu, and handed Shisu the task of using other gods to control Ryubane. Of course, in the case of using the transformation technique to become the 3rd generation of Hokage. After all, Mito Menayan said that it sounds good to trust Uchiha Shisu, but in fact, it is impossible to fully trust it. I see, Lord. 3 generations, Uchiha Shisu agreed with little hesitation. He had already planned to use other gods to modify the will of Uchiha Fude. If the conflicts in the village and the Uchiha clan could not be reconciled, the patriarch even disregarded that he was an ordinary Uchiha. Now that Sandaime told him that Uchiha Ryuzen might be the mysterious Uchiha, and in this case, Shisu felt that it was reasonable to modify the opponent's will. Whoosh! After receiving the order, Uchiha Shisu directly used the instantaneous technique to disappear into the Hokage office. Uchiha Shisu and Ryu were originally from the same family, and it was very easy to find a chance to get close to Ryuba. It's Ryubian. Morning. Only on the next morning, Ryujin, who was walking towards the door in the clan compound, met Uchiha Shiso. Everyone lives in a compound, and when they get up in the morning to go to work, it is indeed a very normal thing to meet by chance. If it was placed in the past, I would not think too much about it, but after knowing that Uchiha Shiso had really accepted Mito Menain's mission, Ryujin would not think so. Early stopped the water, but Ryubian didn't show anything on the surface, and he greeted Shishu with his expression as usual. The next thing that naturally happened was to talk and chat together, leaving the Uchiha clan to go to work. Liu Ren, I have one thing I want to tell you. When he reached the gate of the Uchiha clan, Uchiha Shiso suddenly stood still, and said to Ryubana with a serious expression on his face. According to the reaction of ordinary people, halfway through the small talk, the other party suddenly tells you something serious, and he will definitely look at that person face to face. At this moment, Liu Ren looked like a person who didn't know anything. He turned around, looked at Uchiha Shiso's eyes, and said, "What's the matter? Let's talk about it." "I'm sorry, I have to do this," Uchiha Shimizu said coldly. "Why are you sorry? What do you have to do?" Liu Ren asked very well in a puzzled and strange tone. "Do this." Turning the writing wheel in Uchiha Shiso's eyes, he directly mobilized the other gods to Ryubane. At that moment, a thought was implanted in Ryubane. "Uchiha Ryubane, everything you do in the future depends on the will of Naruto-sama." Uchiha Ryubana directly became a trance, and then returned to normal, as if nothing had happened. "Okay, Uchiha Ryubana, you should go to the Konoha guard first, and when the rotation is over, go with me to see Master Naruto," Uchiha Shiso said to Ryubana at this time. "I see." Uchiha Ryubana nodded, and the two separated after get off work. Shili merged with Liu Ren, and brought Liu Ren to the Hokage office. On the desk, Sandaime Hokage was flipping through the documents, with a pipe dangling in his mouth. It can only be said that Menayan Mito is also very dedicated in acting, which is many times better than those junk actors who do not know what to do. Chapter 116 Showdown. I am the mysterious Uchiha. After seeing the two Uchiha Ryubane come in, Menayan Mito just put down the files in his hand, did not speak, but began to look at Ryubane intentionally or unconsciously. Chapter 168. It seems to be looking at Ryubian whether there is any change in general. Hokage-sama, I brought Uchiha Ryubana. Uchiha Shiso is now reporting to Mito Menayan. Mito Menayan asked nonchalantly, "Shiso, how is the task I entrusted to you accomplished? Because I'm not sure what the state of Uchiha Ryubana is." To be cautious, Mito Menayan still uses a rather vague questioning method. "The mission has been completed," Uchiha Shiso immediately replied. "I have modified Uchiha Ryubana's will, and now he uses the Naruto-sama's will as his rule of action." "Master Hokage, what's the order?" Liu Ren also said. At this time a faint joy flashed in Mito Menayan's eyes. From this look, Shiso's mission was indeed very successful. "Okay, Shiso, you go down first." Menayan Mito waved his hand at this time, and sent Uchiha Shiso away. "Uchiha Ryubana, next I want to ask you a few questions, and you have to answer them truthfully." It wasn't until Shishu's figure disappeared that Mito Menayan returned to the position of supreme, and said to Uchiha Ryubana condescendingly, "The first question, are you another Uchiha person who appeared at the production base outside the village on the day Uzumaki Kushina was producing?" Mito Menayan asked this most important question. "Master Huhoy?" "Yes." Uchiha Ryuzen did not hesitate, and directly confessed, "It's really you." With Mito Menayan's temperament, his face couldn't help showing an extremely surprised look, and he couldn't calm down at all. "The news is really amazing." The mysterious Uchiha master who swept the entire Konoha by one person, so that the whole Konoha could not lift his head, actually stayed in the village magnificently, but even such a guy who was against the sky was controlled by Shishu's pupil technique. At this moment, Mito Menayan was extremely afraid of Shishu. "Uchiha stops the water, so I can't stay." A cold light flashed in Mito Menayan's eyes, and he made a secret decision in his heart. In his opinion, to some extent, Uchiha Shiso was more terrifying than Uchiha Ryubana. At least Ryubana was ridiculously powerful, but every move was visible. It's like Shishu, it can turn you into a puppet without knowing it. "Okay, then the second question." After calming down, Mito Menayan continued to stare at Ryubian, and asked condescendingly, "Did you kill the third generation of Eyes?" "Yes," Liu Ren replied again without compromise. Gudong. Mito Menayan couldn't help but swallowed secretly. Although he had made this guess a long time ago, when Liu Ren personally confessed it, his heart still couldn't help but suddenly burst. After all, this fact is too shocking, especially after knowing the true identity of Ryun. It made Miromenayan even more cold sweat from his back. Fortunately, at that time, he followed Nara's advice and did not make any drastic measures against Ryu. Otherwise, it is really unimaginable what will happen. The third question, why do you have such a powerful strength, but still hide in the village? What are you, or the Uchiha clan, have you failed? After Miromenayan calmed down, he asked Ryuzen again, I don't have any conspiracy. I don't know if the Uchiha clan has any conspiracy, but if Naruto-sama needs to investigate, I can conduct an investigation secretly. Miromenayan was a little dissatisfied with this answer. He pointed out the problem sharply. If you don't have any plans, why hide your strength? My strength is too strong, I have too much ninjutsu. And I am afraid of being suspected by the village. This is still a bit like. Miromenayan nodded and continued, what is the relationship between Uchiha Dato and the Uchiha clan? Is he a secret power cultivated by your Uchiha clan? No, on the day Kushina gave birth, what was your purpose? Stop Uchiha from taking oil and snatching Kyuubi. If this is the case, after taking this oil and leaving, why do you keep guarding the Kyuubi for a while before leaving? Taitu didn't really leave. He has been hiding in secret, and none of you have noticed except me. Miromenayan asked a few more questions, and Ryubana gave him a very satisfactory answer. Note that it just made Miromenayan satisfied, nothing more. Well, Uchiha Ryubana, you go back first. During this time, you will take turns in the guard and wait for my order. If Uchiha Fudake takes any action, or if your Uchiha clan has any plans, please report to me at any time. Finally, Menayan Mito waved his hand again and sent Ryubana away. It's just that Miromenayan would never have thought that when Uchiha Ryubana walked out of the Hokage building, a sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth. Miromenayan, then let me see what your plan is. Liu Ren curled his lips and smiled coldly. Yes, Uchiha Ryubana was not controlled by Shisa's other Gaut's pupil technique. Since he knew Shisa would use this trick to deal with him, wouldn't he be unprepared? What stopped water in the morning was just a shadow clone of Ryubana. Well, I was delayed a lot of time by Mitomanitis, and my appointment with Hong is about to be late. Just after turning a corner, Liu Ren suddenly remembered something, patted his forehead, and then quickly checked the time. Whoosh whoosh, no more nonsense. He directly launched the instantaneous technique, turned into a phantom, and walked through the walls of the village frozen as less than a minute of effort. Came to Zairuhan's side. The face is not red and breathless. I have to say that dating with ninjutsu is so convenient. Don't you think this is too high profile? Chapter 169. Yuri Hong is also a ninja, so she naturally noticed Liu Jian's movements early, and she looked at Liu Jian rather speechlessly and said, just run wild in the village. Aren't you afraid that the villagers will complain to Hokage? It doesn't matter if I wait a while, Hong said very thoughtfully. I can't bear it. Liu Ren naturally hugged Zairuhan, and said with a sullen expression, the two are already old husbands and old wives, so naturally they are not as twitchy as they were at the beginning. By the way, do your parents know about the two of us? Liu Ren asked suddenly after the two took a walk. I haven't told them yet, but they should have heard some rumors. Zairuhan replied. Do you think this is good or not? If it's convenient, I want to visit them formally, Liu Ren said to Yuri Hong sternly. Hong suddenly became squeezed. Don't look at Yuri Hong, who is usually generous, but in fact, she is also shy in many cases. It's just that people who are not familiar with it can't see this side at all. Why do you want to visit my parents all of a sudden? We are still young, so don't worry, Zairuhan asked a little strangely. The form of the ninja world is complex and changeable. The ninja lives a life of licking blood. Accidents can happen at any time, so I want to settle our affairs early. Liu Ren retracted his gaze, and said to Zairuhan sternly. However, the other reason Liu Ren didn't tell Yu Hong was that with a series of actions of Miromenayan, he had a foreboding that he and the village would most likely have a conflict one day. Even in recent days, when the time comes, Ziri is really red. What if you stand on the opposite side of Liu Bian and hold your daughter and hold it down? Wouldn't it hurt? It's better to settle things down earlier, otherwise, I am afraid that some variables will be added. Okay, I'll talk to my parents when I go back tonight. After thinking about it for a while, Zairuhan agreed. Don't forget to say hello to my father-in-law and mother-in-law, Liu Ren said shamelessly on the side. What father-in-law and mother-in-law? You are too shameless, right? There was a blush on Zairuhan's face in the evening. Liu Ren, who had finished her wonderful life, returned to her room, took out the glass ball, and started a routine voyeur. As expected, not long after, Miromenayan once again summoned a group of bigwigs to the Hokage office. Everyone, our plan was successful. Shisa has used other gods to modify Uchiha Ryubana's will. Now, Uchiha Ryubana has obeyed my orders, and I have got some very important information from him." The two words of Menayan Mito made all the bosses in the office feel excited, and at the same time, their hearts sank looking at Mito Menayan's posture. The information he got must not be ordinary information. It must be the kind of super fierce information. Uchiha Ryubana has already admitted his identity. He is the mysterious Uchiha person. The Naruto office was quiet, and everyone was very shocked by the news. Although they had guessed, they couldn't keep calm at the moment. In addition, Uchiha Ryubana also admitted that he personally killed Sandame. The second news also shocked everyone. It took a few seconds for everyone in the office to come back to their senses. This is also a blockbuster news. The news was too shocking. In order to convince the big bosses, Mito Menayan ordered Uchiha Ryubana to be summoned in front of the big men. I conducted some inquiries, and completely dispelled the doubts in the minds of the big men. So when Ryuzen was retired by Mito Menayan again, the atmosphere in the office was already extremely heavy. Uchiha Ryuzen is that Uchiha person. This is definitely the worst news that everyone can't accept because there are too many things hidden behind this. The Uchiha clan's suspicion was not only incapable of being washed away, but also aggravated by several points. No, it should be said several times after that, the big bosses began to fiercely discuss how to deal with the Uchiha clan. Everyone's position has changed a bit from the previous one, and this change of position is natural and subconscious. It became more fearful and guarded against the Uchiha clan. Even some people's eyes flashed with different gazes, and they seemed to have different thoughts, but they didn't say it directly. Everyone, the question about the Uchiha clan is a legacy of Konoha. It can be said that it has existed since the establishment of the village, but up to now, this problem has not been solved very well, but has become more serious. So, why don't we just let the flow go and let the Uchiha clan develop and fend for themselves? Mito Menayan suddenly said to the people without deep meaning. Hyuga Nizu and Jiraiya are waiting for a few people. You look at me, and I look at you. They all don't understand what Mito Menayan means. Only Nara Shizuo's complexion changed after a long period of contemplation, as if he wanted to understand something. Sir Mito Menayan, sit back and watch the Uchiha clan develop on their own. Isn't this a legacy of tiger breeding? If they have enough strength, they will definitely pose a threat to the village. Yamanaka's brow furrowed slightly, and he asked somewhat unclearly, it's possible, but who can tell what will happen in the future? Maybe there might be civil strife in their clan. Mito Menayan said meaningfully. The big people at the scene are not fools, and Mito Menayan reminded them so obviously. Who of them didn't understand the mystery? High-skilled merchants such as Nara Lukasa fully understood when Mito Menayan first hinted. Mito Menayan intends to let Uchiha Ryubana annihilate the Uchiha clan. What is the civil strife of the Uchiha clan? This is the civil strife of the Uchiha clan. This is the true meaning of Mito Menayan. It's just that the genocide is too cruel. Even if Mito Menayan is now the leader of the Roots, his duty is to do some ugly things, but he doesn't want to bear this kind of eternal infamy. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 170. This is genocide. Not everyone is Danzo. No matter how dark things are, they are willing to do. No matter how dark the pot is in comparison, Mito Menayan still has some concerns. That's why he didn't say it directly, but chose to point it out in this obscure way, and also wanted to get everyone's acquiescence. Spread this darkness evenly on everyone. As long as you don't say it, I don't say it, everyone is silent. And when Uchiha Ryubana swings a butcher knife on the Uchiha clan, in the eyes of the Konoha people, isn't it the Uchiha clan's civil strife? At that time, the Uchiha clan, who had caused Konoha's headache to the extreme, were eliminated from the root cause. In view of Ryuzen's astonishing strength, he can easily destroy the Uchiha clan by himself, and Mito Menayan does not need to provide any support. In other words, this matter has nothing to do with Konoha. It's so good, it's perfect. Chapter 117. Ryu Blade, go and exterminate the Uchiha clan. Well, everyone, it's getting late, let's stop here today. Looking at the reactions of the high-level Konoha, Mito Menayan understood that everyone had understood what they meant. However, no one raised any objections. This shows that everyone has acquiesced to do so. Mito nodded in satisfaction, greeted everyone, and announced the end of the meeting. Everyone goes back to each house and finds each mother. Mito Menayan also quietly went to a deserted place, lifted the transformation technique, and returned to his home casually. A huge genocide conspiracy was brewed silently. It's just a pity that from the beginning to the end of this conspiracy, I didn't escape Ryuban's eyes. Mito Menayan is planning to use other gods to control me and let me destroy the Uchiha clan. This guy doesn't have a strong sense of existence in the original book, and I didn't expect it to be an old coin. Sure enough, there is no simple one that can be mixed up in Konoha. Inside the room, Liu Blade put away the glass ball in his hand, and a sneer was involuntarily evoked at the corner of his mouth. It seemed that the previous feeling was correct. Since the Sarutobi Hiji was killed, Ryubana and Konoha were destined to not coexist peacefully. This contradiction will break out in the short term. I have to hurry up tomorrow and visit Hong's house. Otherwise, it will be a bit embarrassing to wait for Konoha and I to have a fight. At this critical moment, Liu Ren was thinking of this kind of thing on the second day. Liu Ren got a piece of news from Hong that made him a little bit painful. Liu Ren, I have confessed our relationship with my parents and conveyed to him your intention to make an official visit. Hong paused here, as if he was considering his words. Is there another but behind? Liu Ren asked guessingly. Liu Ren, my father refused. He doesn't want to see you now, Zhao said. However, immediately afterwards he explained to Liu Bian, this is not your reason. You also know that the fourth generation of Eyes is much loved in the village. He has just been killed not long ago, so, I understand. Liu Ren nodded. Hong's attitude did not exceed Ryan's expectations. After all, the relationship between the village and Konoha had not yet been eased. It's okay. Although my father hasn't fully accepted you yet, he hasn't objected to me and you. My father said, I'm no longer a child, so I can make the decision by myself, as long as I think about it clearly. Liu Jian is a relief. And praises the enlightened parents of ninjas in this world. Okay Hong, let's go eat. Liu Ren greeted Zhao and took Hong's hand and walked into the street. Menayan Mito is expected to do things after the U9 mission leaves Konoha, and it seems impossible to get Uchiha and Hong before the conflict with the village breaks out. Fortunately, the ninjas in this world are relatively independent. The parents of ninjas do not interfere with their children as much as later generations. It is estimated that there will be no big problems with the problems of the ninja and the red except for Lao Zhangren. It's a little bit troublesome. Forget it, go one step at a time. Liu Bian shook his head and threw all these messy things to one side, and Hong talked and laughed as Ryzen expected. In the next few days, Sarutobi Hisaki was busy negotiating with the Onion mission, as if he had completely forgotten about Uchiha. After half a month of consultations and negotiations, the Konoha and U9 missions finally reached a complete agreement. Their names were formally signed on the armistice agreement. When the news came out, Konoha was full of joy. Lin Xuan-kun, say hello to the 3 generations of Hokage for me. I will. 3 generations of Hokage, please go back. At the entrance of the village, Sarutobi Rizhan personally led the high-level Konoha to send the U9 mission away. In the eyes of everyone, the people of the U9 mission gradually moved away, and gradually disappeared from everyone's sight. Okay, let's go back, Sarutobi Rizhan greeted, and led the high-level Konoha to turn back to the village. But the high-level Konoha glanced at each other, but they all saw a dignified look in each other's eyes. They all smelled something. The U9 mission is gone, but Konoha's turmoil is about to come. Tonight, I'm afraid there will be a storm. Mito Menayan walked a few steps, but suddenly raised his head, as if he was observing the weather, and sighed. Pay attention to your clothes when you go home. Chapter 171. The expressions of the several Konoha executives around him couldn't help but change slightly. They are all Konoha bosses, so they can naturally understand the hint of Mito Menayan. Tonight, Uchiha's civil strife is about to begin. The several high-level sexes were very solemn and looked at each other, but they didn't say much. Living in this chaotic world of shinobu, how many of these people in high positions are soft-hearted people? Even though some of them were quite resistant to this and extreme method, they also acquiesced to Mito Menayan's action in this weird atmosphere. Night fell quietly. The patriarchs of the pig, deer and butterfly, Hyuga Hizu, and Jiraiya, gathered outside the Hokage building in a tacit understanding, and met ahead there. They subconsciously looked up at the Hokage office, and found that the lights were on in the Hokage office. It seems that their guess is correct, and Mito Menayan is indeed planning to eradicate the Uchiha clan tonight. The few people immediately retracted their gazes and looked at each other. The scene was a bit quiet for the time being. If the Uchiha clan really has civil strife, there may be some uncontrollable situations at that time. For example, some extreme dangerous elements retaliate and destroy the village, attack the villagers, and so on. At that time, we will do our best to protect the village and the villagers. Naruloji said in a deep voice to several Konoha executives. Even though Uchiha Ryuba's strength is ridiculously strong, it is after all a big family. No matter how powerful it is, Ryu can't be done in twos if the time comes. The city gate will catch fire and cause some unnecessary damage to the pond fish. This matter must be guarded. However, the struggle of the Uchiha clan was a civil strife and naturally occurred, so no matter it was the roots or the dark side, they would not receive formal orders to avoid leaving traces. Then it can only rely on these few insiders to secretly make a move. This is why they gathered here for a meeting. A figure flashed past, appeared in the Hokage building using the instantaneous technique, and then strode into the door. Naruloji waited for a few high-level officials to look slightly drunk, and looked at it, and found that the person who came was surprisingly Uchiha Shisu, Master Naruto. Shisu came to the office, knelt on one knee, and saluted Miro Menayan. Get up, stop water. Menayan Mito put down the pipe in his hand and stood up. After pacing around, he looked at Zhishu condescendingly, and asked in a deep voice, Zhishu, are you loyal to the village? Zhishu raised his head, fixedly looking at Miro Menayan. His voice firmly said, Master Hokage, I am absolutely loyal to the village. If there can only be one village and your Uchiha clan, would you choose the village or your family? Miro Menayan asked again in a condensed voice. Hokage-sama, what do you mean? Uchiha Shisu was slightly startled, and his pupils shrank slightly. You only need to answer my question. Menayan Mito waved his hand. You have to consider this question carefully before telling me. Zhishu was silent for a moment, and there was a struggling expression in his eyes since he knew that Ryzen was the mysterious Uchiha and killed Sandaime. He understood that the conflict between the village and the family was irreconcilable. I am afraid that one day there will be a head-on battle between the two, but he didn't expect that this day would come so soon. Konoha actually planned to do something against the Uchiha clan, but the struggle soon calmed down, and Shisu's voice sounded calmly. Hokage-sama, the Uchiha clan is also part of the village. There is a village before a home. If the village and the Uchiha clan really cannot coexist, I will choose the village. Uchiha Shisu's voice didn't sound loud, but it was full of power. If you sacrifice your own life for the sake of the village, are you willing? Mito Menayan asked again. Master Hokage, if the village really needs my sacrifice, I am willing, Uchiha Shisu answered without hesitation. Very good Shisu, I didn't misread you. Menayan Mito nodded with satisfaction. Then, you go and call Uchiha Ryuji over. Shisu immediately took the order and left. In a short while, he returned to the Uchiha clan and brought Ryubana to the Hokage office again. It's Uchiha Ryubana. The several Konoha high levels outside the Hokage building all looked dazzling, and immediately became 200% energetic since Menayan Mito called Uchiha Ryubana over. It means that a storm is coming soon. They must be ready to collect clothes. Master Naruto. Master Naruto. In the Naruto office, Ryzen and Uchiha Shisu both saluted Miro Menayan. Get up all. Mito Menayan waved his hand and stood up casually. However, if someone carefully observes Mirophytomanitis, they will find that Mirophytomanitis is actually in a state of high alert. There are also a large number of root personnel ambushing around the Hokage building. As long as the Mitomanitis encounters a slight danger, those root personnel will rush in for rescue at the first time. Although Shisu had used other gods to control Ryubana, it was reasonable to say that nothing unexpected would happen. But in view of the great danger of Uchiha Ryubana, the necessary precautions were still necessary. Master Hokage, I don't know what's the order, Ryuban said quietly on the surface, but in fact he was sneer in his heart. Is it about to come? When Tukian sees it, I want you to kill Uchiha Shisu, Mito Menayan suddenly said to Uchiha Ryubana with a solemn expression. Liu Ren was stunned for a while. Didn't he want to kill the Uchiha clan? How could he kill Shisu? Chapter 172. Uchiha Shisu next to Ryubana also showed an unbelievable look. He was so loyal to the village that Sandaime wanted his life. Is it true that Sandaime is testing his loyalty? Hokage-sama, Uchiha Shisu had just spoken when he was interrupted by Miro Menayan. Didn't you say that you can sacrifice your life for the sake of the village? Now, this is the time, Mito Menayan said solemnly. Shisu's face became so ugly that he couldn't accept this scene anyway. This poor child didn't want to think. Since Mito Menayan planned to wipe out the entire Uchiha clan, how could he leave Shisu alone? Who can rest assured to leave a person with genocide in the village? After all, the human heart is always fleshy, and no matter how powerful brainwashing is, it is impossible to wash away this kind of blood and deep hatred. After all, brainwashing is not an illusion, it is not a modification of the will to exterminate the clan. We must cut the grass and roots, so as to be foolproof. In addition, Not to mention that Zishu's extremely defying pupil technique of other gods was deeply jealous of Miro Menayan, and he wanted to get rid of it soon. The above two are the most important reasons. As for the last reason, it is due to the caution of Mito Menitis. He wants to make sure that he can really control Ryubana, and it is only a necessary temptation for him to kill a fellow clan. Yes, Master Naruto. What made Miro Menayan very gratified was that after he gave this order, Ryu's and Uchiha accepted it without any discount. Shenwubi. At this moment, the eyes in Ryubana's pupils switched directly to the riding wheel eyes, and he used the long-range miracle against Zishu. Click, laugh. Zishu's head was cut off directly by Ryubana, and the blood sprayed high thump. The headless body that followed Zishu just fell to the floor. Ryubana looked at the two halves of Zishu's corpse, with only endless coldness in his eyes. Without any change in expression. Very good. Mito Menayan saw this scene, but his eyes lit up directly. Ryubana killed Zishu cleanly, allowing Mito Menayan to completely dispel the last trace of doubt about him. Miro stepped down from the position of supremacy, looked directly at Ryu, and said to him with a straight face, Uchiha Ryu, listen, now I give you an important task. Hokage-sama, please say. Liu Ren responded with the same seriousness, you immediately kill everyone in your Uchiha clan. Midman Yan said to Ryzen with his face unchanged. The tragic matter of extermination did not even change in tone when he said it, as if it was just an extremely ordinary task. Everyone, Uchiha Ryu emphasized again, everyone. Whether it's a ninja or a commoner, Mito Menayan's face remained unchanged. Chapter 118, Stop Water, I take your eyes away Zishu, have you seen it? However, after confirming Mito Menayan's order, Ryubana did not move, but instead asked the air around him, what the hell? Shisu, isn't Zishu just killed by Ryubana? Mito Menayan was confused by Ryubana's actions, but after that, Mito Menayan felt a flower in front of him, and saw Uchiha Shisa again in the empty place beside Ryu, and the corpse of Uchiha Shisa lying on the ground had completely disappeared. What's going on? After Mito Menayan froze for a while, sweat was all over his forehead. No matter how stupid he is, he has already reacted. He has just been hit by Uchiha Ryubana's illusion. Killing Uchiha Shisa or anything is fake, they are all hallucinations implanted by the other party, and the real face of Mito Menayan was completely exposed in front of the two Uchiha people. Why, Lord Uchiha Shisu felt that his whole body collapsed, and he felt that his destiny was making a big joke with himself in the past. He believed so much in the village and so much in the will of fire, but in the end, the village regarded him as a tool to deal with the Uchiha clan. He used to be so convinced that the village really wanted to live peacefully with the Uchiha clan. But there was a contradiction and misunderstanding with the Uchiha clan. As long as misunderstandings and contradictions are eliminated, the two can coexist. But reality gave Zishu a hard blow, and the village planned to wipe out the entire Uchiha clan, even the civilians. For Uchiha Shisu, this is no less than a thunderous blow. Shisu, your biggest problem is that you are too naive. Do you know the most important problem of Konoha and Uchiha? Where is the biggest contradiction? Have you ever heard a word called Gangeo Gezu? Uchiha's power is too strong, and he is the clan who established Konoha with the first generation. The Naruto system cannot control it, so how can he be at ease? Silly boy, open your eyes to see reality, Ryubana said to Zishu at the right time. He completely ignored Mito Menayan, who was pale on one side, and began to educate Uchiha Shisu. Mito Menayan's face was hard to see, the extreme, anger to the extreme, and at the same time shock to the extreme. He never thought that everything he planned carefully had been seen through by the other party a long time ago. At this moment, he was almost like a jumping clown. However, at the same time, a huge and incomparable pressure also enveloped Mito Menayan's body, making him feel a kind of life and death crisis. Chapter 173. He had already seen how strong Uchiha Ryubana is. Now the plan is revealed, but it will be terrible. No, you must retreat immediately. After Mito Menayan came back to his senses, he made a decisive decision. There was no nonsense. He shook his body, and quickly flew out of the window after starting the instantaneous technique. But how can Ryubana make Mito Menayan his wish? But seeing Liu Ren smiled coldly, he switched to the Eyes of Reincarnation and stretched out his hand at Mito Menayan. Vientian Shianayan. Mito Menayan was directly attracted by the immense suction power of Vientian Sky, and it flew towards Ryubana. At this moment Ryubana thought. A black stick appeared directly in his hand and raised his arm. Laugh. The heart of Mito Menayan was directly pierced by Ryu blade. How come? Mito Menayan's eyes widened, and all of them were shocked and unbelievable. Think about how many storms and waves he has experienced, how many life and death crises, and the people of his same period basically died except for turning Tibetan Zaichin. And he has stood firm all the time now. At this moment, is he going to die in such an extremely aggrieved way? Laugh. Ryubana didn't talk any more nonsense with Mitomenyan at all. He pulled out the black rod of the reincarnation eye, and Mitomenyan's body fell directly to the ground with a plop boom. As soon as Mitomenyan died, his transformation technique was automatically lifted, returning to the original Mitomenyan appearance. Mitomenyan? Isn't he a third generation? Uchiha Shisu's eyes widened blankly. It was a mess. Yes, he is not a third generation. The real third generation has been killed by me. Liu Ren shrugged, his tone relaxed and calm as if talking about trivial things. Uchiha Ryubana, you actually killed the third generation of Eyes. Uchiha Shisu cried out, unable to accept this kind of thing in his opinion. Killing Hokage is totally a treason, an unforgivable crime. He wants to kill me. Should I let him kill like you? Sorry, I'm not as cheap as you. You want to sacrifice your life for the village. The village just treats you as a dog. Liu Ren couldn't help cursing coldly. Frankly speaking, although Zhishu's end was extremely miserable, Liu Ren didn't have any sympathy for him, and this kind of death was also on his own account, born at the wavelength of Uchi. In Uchiha, Uchiha did not do anything to apologize to Shisu, but in this case, Shisu wanted to help the village deal with Uchiha. The brain was eaten by a dog. Even so, you can't kill Sandainu. He is the Hokage of the village, Zhishu murmured, his expression agitated. Do you think Mitomenyan is going to exterminate the clan because I killed Sandainu? Wake up, Sandainu had this meaning already. Ryubana ruthlessly pierced the illusion of Shishu. The annihilation of Uchiha in the original work was basically acquiesced by the third generation as the old coin is Hokage. Would he not notice that Denzo has mobilized so many people to do things in Konoha? Are the people in Anbu blind? If Sarutobi Hisaki really wanted to prevent this tragedy, how could Danzo succeed? He couldn't even enter the Uchiha clan, and he would be stopped by Sarutobi. But what about the actual situation? Konoha's #1 wealthy family. So many people from all over the clan died with only one child left, and Sarutobi had never appeared before, and only symbolically punished Denzo afterwards. It is said that Denzo was responsible for destroying Uchiha. But Denzo is only equivalent to the sword in the hands of Sandaime, and this time, do you think it was just Mitomenyan's idea to destroy the Uchiha clan? To tell you the truth, these big clans, such as Jalaiya, Hyuga Nizu, Pig Deer Butterfly, and Oil Girl clan, have all acquiesced. I really thought Mitomenyan could do whatever he wanted in Konoha. What do I want to do? He is not Hokage. If it weren't for Konoha's acquiescence, would he dare to make such a mess? These words, like a ruthless sharp arrow, pierced Shishu's heart, causing Shishu's expression to change drastically. Impossible. This is impossible. Zhishu shook his head and shouted, I'm too lazy to tell you more. Liu Ren didn't bother to talk more with Zhishu. He shook his head, his body shook, the instantaneous technique unfolded, and the person rushed to Shishu. Shishu was startled, and instinctively figured out Q to fight back. Jingle bells. But after only a few very intensive collisions, Zhishu clutched his pupils in pain and backed up again and again between his fingers. A lot of blood flowed out. His pair of riding wheel eyes were just so stiffly picked out by Ryubana, such a strong pair of eyes. It's just a pity that your series of actions have made me unable to trust you, so I'll keep it for you. Ryubana coldly and authentically he took out the scroll calmly and sealed the pair of eyes in Uchiha. Shisu was brainwashed by the will of fire too much? Since the convection blade used other gods this time, it is impossible to guarantee that there will be another time. Flowing blades will not raise the tiger's legacy. Chapter 174. What's more, since Zhishu has taken a shot at the convection blade, it must pay a certain price. Let's go. From now on, there will be no Uchiha Shisu in the ninja world. Ryubana waved his hand to Shisu, and said blankly. Zhishu seemed to have lost his soul, and his whole person had become a zombie. It was only a physical injury to him that he was being slapped, but now it was a mental blow and a breakdown in faith that was even more deadly for him. This is nothing less than the collapse of the sky boom. There was a loud noise at this time. The door of Hokage's office was suddenly pushed open, and one after another figure rushed in. Using the instant technique, they were surprisingly the root confidants of Mitomenyan arranged outside. And they rushed over as soon as they noticed something was wrong inside. It's just that Ryubana's strength is stronger than Mitomenyan too much, and Mitomenyan is slaughtered in the middle of his hand. Even if the roots come sooner, it will be too late. Master Mitomenyan. These people at the roots looked at the corpse of Mitomenyan on the ground. Did you kill Mr. Menyan? Mito asked a leader-like person, staring at Ryubana. This is very easy to distinguish, because Mitomenyan's body is right next to Ryubana's feet. and there is still blood on the sleeves of Ryubane's hands. Hishu's eyes are blind. Liu Ren is naturally the first suspect. Yes, but he is dead. Are you going to die for him in vain? Liu Ren glanced at the roots coldly. However, he still underestimated the loyalty and will of the dead man. Whoosh whoosh. A group of root ninjas didn't blink their eyes and all rushed towards Liu Bian. As for the blind Uchiha Shisu, no one paid any attention at all. The crowd allowed him to walk out the door in despair. Chi 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 chi. The sound of intensive breaking through the sky sounded. The root ninjas shot a large number of shurikens at Liu Bian for the first time, turning into a rain of shurikens, drowning Liu Bian's whole person. However, Liu Ren didn't even take a straight look. His eyes switched to the kaleidoscope writing round eyes, and the magic pupil technique. All the shurikens passed through his body. Nani, the expressions of the root ninjas have changed drastically. With this weird technique, is this person the legendary Uchiha? According to rumors, this person has crushed Konoha's head bosses one after another. Jingle bells. All the shurikens shot on the wall behind Liu Jian. At this time Liu Bian instantly entered the fairy mode, and then Chidori used a trick. Before all the root ninjas could get close, he fell to the ground easily. Not good. There is a situation. Something is wrong. Outside the Naruto building, several Konoha executives who had been secretly observing the situation couldn't help but change their expressions. Although they were outside the Hokage building and couldn't see the situation in the Hokage office, they vaguely heard a commotion from inside. In addition, after Uchiha Shiso took Uchiha Ryublade into the Naruto building, but he has not been able to see it, this made the hearts of several big bosses feel a bad feeling. Could it be something wrong? Hyuga Hizu frowned and said in a deep voice, turning his head to look at the big men around him. But I saw Jiraiya, Naruto, and others with solemn expressions and ugly expressions. Obviously they also smelled something. Go in and take a look. After meditation for a long time, Yamazuka said to the big men around him. The big guys looked at each other, and when they were about to rush into the Hokage building, Naruto yelled from behind, everyone, don't act rashly yet. Naruto's complexion looked extremely solemn, and he said to several big bosses, do you know the meaning of going here? If the worst happens, what are you going to do? The atmosphere that was already very solemn at the scene became even heavier as Naruto asked this sentence. Now that Sandaime and Mito Menin have been killed by Uchiha Ryuba one after another, how do they face such a character? Take coercive measures against him like a normal rebel? Everyone knows that with Uchiha's strength, the village will pay a heavy price for doing so, and the final result is still unpredictable. So, obediently swallow this breath. When nothing has happened, no one dared to do this. If Uchiha Ryubana really killed Mito Menin, it would mean that Uchiha Shisu did not control Uchiha Ryubana at all. Then the genocide plan must have been leaked out. If Uchiha Ryubana retaliates against Konoha for this, Konoha will face an unprecedented disaster. So if Mito Menin really died, then this person must be removed anyway. If this is the case, my teacher died in the hands of Ryu Uchiha, and the death of my student is inseparable from this person. Jilly also stepped forward first, with a firm look on his face. Whether I am a student, a teacher, or a ninja, I am not allowed to shrink back. The big guys at the scene immediately understood Jilia's attitude and position, and he was already determined to die. The Hyuga clan has always been an important part of the village, and has always enjoyed the blessing and protection of the village. Now, it is time for our clan to pay for the village. Chapter 175. Hyuga Nizu also stood up and said categorically. Chapter 119. The assassination of Uchiha Ryublade begins. Yes, Luju, we are all ninjas, fighters. We have a mission that we must fulfill. If the worst happens, then even if I sacrifice my life, I must get rid of this dangerous person. Yunzihei spoke for the third time. Her face was calm. Without hesitation the other two tribes of Zuluri, and the Inuzuka tribe, also expressed the same meaning. It has to be said that the personal qualities of these Konoha ninjas are extremely high, and no one flinches at this critical moment. Although Uchiha Ryubana is powerful and dangerous, we people have their own strengths and we also have a good chance of winning. So Lu Jiu, you don't have to be so pessimistic. If you really start your hands, it's not necessarily us who will die. Yamanaka patted Narakaju's shoulder at this time and said, although Uchiha Ryubana is ridiculously strong, no matter how strong a person is, there are weaknesses, and no matter how strong it is impossible to cope with all ninjutsu. For example, Zuluri's classic combination boxing, first uses shadow imitation to hold the opponent, and then uses the heart to turn around to control the opponent's body. As long as it succeeds, what will happen to Uchiha Ryubana? There are also the poisonous insects of Yunzihei. As long as a little bit of it flies on Liu Bian's body, It can directly poison the other party to death. Wasn't the 4th generation I killed by this oil because it was poisoned by the poisonous insects of UNVZHI way in advance. Otherwise, who can kill him with the 4 generations of the of Thunder? What's more, they already know the various skills of Ryubana now, not like they did not understand it all when they were in the production of Kusanagi. Therefore, this time the battle is also targeted, and the battle plan can be formulated in advance. In short, be prepared for the battle. So even though the big guys on the scene have seen Ryubana's power, they haven't really been bluffed by Ryubana, thinking that Ryubana is invincible. Hey, I am not pessimistic. But I have a habit of preparing for the worst before making a plan. Everyone, I have no doubt about your loyalty and awareness, but have you ever thought about it? Our families have passed on for so many years and are the very important cornerstone of the village. If the worst happens and we are all defeated and killed, it means that the power of so many families has been severely injured at the same time, and it is equal to Konoha being severely injured. At that time, how will the village check and balance the Uchiha clan? I am afraid that no one in Konoha can hold them down. Naruto paused for a long time, and then calmly analyzed the Konoha executives. Luju, we will face this problem sooner or later. Even if we put it aside for now, the conflict between the village and Uchiha will continue to accumulate in the future. When it breaks out again, the village is afraid that it will face more serious problems than it is now. The sooner this matter is resolved, the better. Even if there is pain, it must be resolved. What's more, as long as Uchiha Ryubana is there, who can suppress it? If he does not die, the existence of our families will not have much influence, Yamanaka said to Narashikazu with a solemn expression. So what about the threat from outside villages? If Konoha's power is weakened, it is impossible for Union's countries to miss this great opportunity. At that time Konoha is likely to face a new war. Narashikazu came to the point again. Everyone at the scene was silent after a while. Jilei also said in a deep voice, Luju, what you said is reasonable, but I think the threat of the Uchiha clan is even greater. I don't know if there will be war in the future, but we are already at war with the Uchiha clan now. If this war is not resolved as soon as possible, Konoha is like a building that is about to overturn, and may fall at any time. Uchiha Ryubana is very likely to have killed Mito Menin now. That means he already knows our previous plan to destroy the Uchiha clan. Do you think he will be kind to Konoha? He even killed Hokage. This is also a truth that can't be more truthful. You are going to destroy other people's clan. Can they be indifferent? The people at the scene put themselves in the role of Ryubana, and thought to themselves that if someone wanted to destroy their clan, they would definitely rise up to resist. Even think about it, when Uchiha Ryubana robbed Shenwubi before, he suppressed everyone, but didn't kill anyone. But after Sarutobi Rishi and Mito Menin shot successively with convection blade, they were immediately mercilessly slaughtered by each other. A glimpse can be seen from this point. Once again, the scene fell silent, because no matter whether Narashikazu, Jiren or Yamanaka Yoshiichi, everyone made a lot of sense. If, after all, there are too many factors involved in all aspects, it will simply affect the whole body. Everyone, what I want to say is that we must have a long-term plan to ensure that Konoha's interests are protected to the greatest extent. After a long silence, Naruto raised his head and spoke slowly to everyone. Master Jiraiya, I can understand your current beliefs, but you must never sacrifice. If this time our battle fails and Konoha is hit hard, we need a leader with enough weight to stabilize the situation. Now Konoha has no one capable of doing the job except you. Jiraiya didn't care about this at all. Tsunade, who is also one of the 3 ninjas with me, is more suitable than me. I can ask her to serve as the 5th generation of Hokage. In addition to stabilizing the situation in the village, we also need a strong helping hand to deter other countries in the Uchiha clan. Narashikazu continued, where can I find this kind of help? Hyuga Nezu raised an eyebrow and asked, Myaoki Mountain. Naruto immediately spit out these 3 words, Master Jiraiya. It is the link between Konoha and Myaoki Mountain. Although Konoha has always maintained a good relationship with Myaomu Mountain, Jiraiya has always been able to enter Myaomu Mountain. There is only one person who can directly communicate with the immortal Big Toad. This is irreplaceable by anyone else. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.